Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Iron Age Nights. How is everybody doing down in the chats? They should have never given me a soundboard. Oh, I love it. I love it. Oh, that's much too long. It's far too long of an audience applause, I think.
That's why I just got to hand it up
the
every
intro.
time it happens.
Right. Absolutely. Have to ham it up every time it happens. That's what we've got to do. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have a fantastic guest this evening. As always, I have fantastic co-hosts, but even more so, I have a fantastic chat that we have to say hello to. And chat, let me know how the audio sounds. I got a new microphone, and so we're seeing how it sounds. I messed up a little bit in the video yesterday, so let me know how that is. But without any further ado, we have John A. Douglas down in the chat. Hello, good sir. Isidro Lopez Irwin is down there as well. Eric Grant. Hello. That's a new name, I believe. We have Summer down in the chat as well. They say they didn't know Blaine had a new book. I must get this. And that mech design is sick, so you're already getting compliments, good sir. TJ Marquis, TJ's down in the chat. Yep. Darkish Multiverse, Horizon Talker, hello. Lee is down there. Brian McCoffin, how are you? Joseph Peck, it's fantastic to see you. Maji Chan, Toxic Crusader, The Lord Otter, Skunks Workshop, Swift Sword Rush, 10 Cage, Kikomon is down in the chat as well. Kikomon is, Blaine, you'll get to know Kikomon. He is probably more popular than we are on this show. Trippy Soul, hello, how are you? Raul Neonzi, James Esparza, it's fantastic to see all you down there. Midnight Mike, JVP Music, who was a guest just a short while ago on the channel, has a fantastic metal audio comic out right now. Seleucid, I am not going to be able to read that word. Argyrspide. Hello, 365 Infantry is down there. Billy Bobsack, and it keeps growing. I literally can't keep up at this point. All right, Heterocron Media as well, podcast, and Stay Based. Okay, I think I am caught up with everybody, and if I missed your name down in the chat, you are more than welcome to shame me, as the chat always does every single Friday.
One of us needs to get a bell.
Shame. Shame. And Kikomon kicks it off with a $5 or with a $5 Drink with Crazy memberships. Thank you so much, Kikomon, for doing that. I appreciate you, good sir.
Kikomon.
So, all right. Oh my goodness, Lord, I don't know how I'm gonna do that when the chat gets really big. All right.
Yeah, the whole show will be just you reading chat names.
That's it. Well, guys, it's been 3 hours. You know, it was a good interview. Hope everybody checks it. It's going to be great. All right. And ladies and gentlemen, I would also love to invite you guys over to drinkwithcrazy.locals.com. Where if you guys would like to go over there, chat and share some memery, you are more than welcome to go over there and share the lulls in the memery as well. A lot of people in my chat do like to go over there, and they like to send in tips and super chats that way instead of going through YouTube. And so if that's your fancy, go to drinkwithcrazy.locals.com and never forget to go and join my fantastically awesome community over in Gilded. It's kind of like Discord, but a lot less communist. So,
and a lot more twitchy.
I was gonna say it's a low bar though.
Well, it is. It's a very well, you know, sometimes the low bars are the easiest ones to reach, Richard. Jeez.
Never mind. I'm just gonna let that one go.
Wow, really? That was a slow pitch down the center. All right. And
I was waiting for something.
I know.
No swing.
Oh, he's taking it easy on me because I have a headache. That's why. Thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Sure.
Sure, that's the reason. And Richard, how are you doing this week? How have you been, man?
Been doing good. I was gonna say I moved the streaming setup kind of initially all week. I was like, all right, I'll do a little bit of this, and then the bookcases took a little bit longer to put together than I expected, and then it came
Looks
down
awesome,
like
though.
2 hours ago. I was running up and down the stairs getting stuff, and like knocking the boom arms over.
Yeah, no. Anytime you have to do setup and stuff, it's terrible. Yes,
But otherwise, it's been a good week.
yeah. No, good man, good. I hear you got a lot of big things going on over on. I actually checked out your video you uploaded the other day about some of the changes that you're doing with content and uploading. So that's going to be fantastic.
Yeah. And while we're talking about that, actually, I should mention that the prompt voting for the September short, or not September, obviously, December short stories has started. So if you would like to read some short stories that were submitted as part of the Iron Age Media image prompts, I encourage you to go check it out. It's at ironage.media /vote.html, and I'll get the link to Royce so that he can drop it in chat here.
Yes, please and thank you.
I posted about it earlier.
Fantastic. And Mr. Daniel P. Riley, the worst self-shill on the planet. The man couldn't shill his own stuff if it would feed him food while he was starving. So, sir, how have you been this week?
Doing great. Actually, it's been pretty nice. Quiet week. I am almost halfway through chapter 2 on Jisedai 2's work.
Fantastic.
Got some more artwork coming in, the usual stuff, and I had a pretty good meeting earlier. So it looks like I am going to have the opportunity to devote some more time to the community like I wanted to.
That's awesome.
I may have an opportunity to learn some in-depth marketing from a professional. So that'd be cool.
That's cool. I also like that you're being cryptic.
The only reason I'm being cryptic is because it's a maybe at the moment. We're still talking about it.
Understandable. And in the link below, we've got ironage.media and the vote page there, so you guys can go there. And Blaine, over in our private chat, you are more than welcome to share any links that you would like to for us.
As long as Richard doesn't beat you to it.
Yeah, no,
I already beat you to it, so don't worry about it.
And ladies and gentlemen, I will introduce our very, very special guest this evening. I am wonderfully surprised to have Blaine here. And just so everybody knows, I am only tangentially aware of Blaine, but I do know he has a reputation that does precede him in the Battletech world. And when Richard said, hey, we should get him on, I'm talking with him, and I was like, no, we can't get him on. And Richard's like, yeah, no, he's totally interested. And I'm like, wait, in our show, that the thing that we do on Friday. He goes, yeah, no. I'm like, yeah, go for it. So very excited for that. And here is his link to the website down in the chat. Mods, if you are here, please do me a favor and share that link for our esteemed guest. Blaine, how has your last week been?
This has been a great week. My book launched yesterday. So the latest book, I've got another one coming out in 2 weeks in a different series. So, I've got a lot of stuff going on. I'm really doing very well.
Excellent.
Good.
Glad to hear it.
Well, if idle hands are the devil's handiwork, then busy hands must be the work of God. Is that how that works?
I don't know. I'm not going to push the God thing.
No. I'm just trying to say that busy hands result in good things. And it was poorly stated. I have a headache. I'm going to phrase a lot of things badly this evening.
That's not necessarily because of the headache, but
shh, Richard. Don't tell him. Don't.
Yeah. Well, we've got him on, so he's on the line.
Right.
There we go.
He is on the line.
But
I'm loving the jacket, by the way.
Oh, thanks.
Oh, okay. There we go.
You got to remember, my wife constantly just goes, "You're 60 years old and you're dressing like you're 11." So, and she's right. So, I don't argue with her.
Well, yeah. Well,
what's the phrase? You're only as old as you feel.
Mm-hmm.
True.
Yes, absolutely. And before we dive into the conversation really quick, we had a couple of super chats come in early from JVP Music for $20. Never should have given me a soundboard. It just shouldn't have happened. Royce looking groomed, Richard looking happy, Daniel looking energized, and Blaine looking regal. Rock the stream. Fantastic. Kikomon came in for $10 as well. And Kikomon says, show me, show you. Kikomon, all hail the green-shirted #1 Iron Age YouTube daddy. I am not going to last long today. LOL. to say to Soy Israel. Kikomon's drinking. All
Kikomon's
right.
usually drinking.
Kikomon is always usually drinking. Yes. And for $2, Kikomon also says, does he approve of soy sauce? No, none low sodium. Sodium, God.
Wow, Rice.
Wow. Yeah, I'm not even drunk. It's going to be.
Hold on a second, guys. I managed
no.
to deafen myself, so I can't actually hear anything.
How do you do that?
What?
We
Welcome
have
to A Drink with Boomer and
Oh
his
my
co-hosts Boomer 2
gosh.
and Boomer 3.
Oh.
Are you back?
Yeah,
Let's
I
see.
know, are
we
we?
never left. Are you back?
There we go. Sorry, I had a boomer moment.
I don't
Mhm.
understand. We have a fantastic guest on this evening. The chat's going nuts. They're
I just
having a
decided
good
to completely
time.
disconnect. I'm like,
I-
I can't hear anything.
The channel grew a lot today. Good things are happening, and Richard's over there just like,
Well,
you know what?
it is
I'm
our
just gonna-
13th episode
It
on
is.
Friday the 13th.
oh, holy
So-
crap! I never put that together. It really is.
I,
Yes,
I
it is
didn't
the-
realize it until today.
Yes, yes, it is the 13th
So-
episode on Friday the 13th. Oh joy, this is going to be hopefully this will be not a catastrophe. But Blaine, thank you so much for coming on. And for those in the chat who don't know you, introduce yourself and give us a little bit of your background.
My name is Blaine Pardoe. I was a writer in the Battletech universe starting in 1985, and that ended this last year. I've written for a lot of different gaming universes over the years: Twilight 2000, Battletech, the Star Trek role-playing game that Fazza did some work with Tannhauser. I've done some stuff with a lot of different Space 1889, you name it, all the old systems. I was doing stuff with those guys. I've been writing a lot of fiction lately. I also write military history books. My daughter and I write true crime books, which is how I got on the New York Times bestseller list. So I do a lot of different genres and write about a lot of different things. Whatever I'm reading at the time generally is where I end up going, and in terms of what I write. So, I'm a little bit all over the place. I'm doing a lot of political and military thriller type stuff now, especially military sci-fi. That's been my wheelhouse.
Fantastic. What has you interested in so many different genres, just out of curiosity?
Well, those are the books I read, and if you read them, you kind of go, well, I could do better than this guy did, or I've got a better story over here than this. And, it's kind of fun writing with my daughter, at least on true crimes too. I mean,
Right.
I don't win any Father of the Year awards hauling her off to murder scenes and stuff, but other than that, we do, we have a good time doing it. So
Good.
I've always got something going at one. I'm doing 2 or 3 books at a time, in motion. So this year alone, I think I'm slated for 11 to 12 books.
Wow.
Holy
Wow.
Lord.
So, it's fun. I like keeping busy.
Mhm.
That is.
Are those
How long does it
collaborative
use-
at all?
Yeah.
Or how'd you
only
manage
one
that?
of them. Well, no, I shouldn't say it. Only 2 of them will be. One is one where I've contributed to an anthology, and one is something I'm working on with my daughter. So,
Very cool.
yeah.
How long
That's
does
awesome.
it usually take you, or you and your daughter, to finish a manuscript, finish a rough draft?
For true crime, it's a lot worse because you have to do a lot of interviews and
Mhm.
research.
Sure.
When you write fiction, it's great because you can make shit up. You can say, I
That's
think
part of it.
the weather in this scene is rain. So you can
Mhm.
do that. If you're writing true crime, you actually have to look up what the weather was and
Sure.
stuff. So it takes a long
Yeah.
time. I would say those books tend to take around, well, in some cases, it takes us 2 years to do the research.
Oh,
to
wow.
crank one out. This one, because we do a lot of cold cases, which are very different in terms of what you have to do. This one that we're stepping into is a case that's been resolved. And so it's a little bit different in terms of the amount of digging and research. Plus, a lot of the people that are involved are dead.
Mhm.
not
So-
from the crime, but it happened in 1967. So a lot of the
Mhm.
witnesses, et cetera, are gone. So it makes it a little bit easier and quicker to go because you don't have the people you have to track down to be able to interview. They're not existent anymore.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. And I
Makes
imagine
sense.
true crime is probably one of those genres where the fans are like, you know, some people talk about like sci-fi fans wanting to like get crazy about, oh, well, actually the quantum, you know,
Let me tell you, there's a
ganglion
thing
wouldn't
call
work,
Crime
but-
Con.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but I
Heard of
bet
it.
true crime is probably like that times 1,000.
I was actually a speaker at Crime Con for the Colonial Parkway murders here in Virginia, and I went and did a panel on that. I'm not beating a path back there. First of all, I was one of like 3 men that were there.
It is,
Mm.
from what I've heard, it
really
is.
attracts a lot more females.
Yeah.
You know, and they're very different. That's the only way to put them. They're very different. They sit around all day watching Oxygen and ID Channel, and
Right.
you know, it's a quirky crowd at times. I enjoyed it, but I don't think I'm going to be beating a path back there to be speaking again. You know, it's just a personal preference. That's all.
Maybe once every couple of years when the urge strikes you, right?
Yeah.
You know, I never say never because you never know where you're going to end up.
Right.
You know, and what you feel like.
True.
But yeah, the podcasters and stuff that are there too are very different in some cases.
You know,
So,
I wonder if Rob Gavigan shows up to stuff like that because he's all over things. If you've ever seen, he started out as Rob Dyke, changed his name a while back, like even legally too. But Rob Gavigan does a lot of the true crime cases. Talks about infamous, I should say, serial killers in America, and some of the things like that. Goes through the crimes. And so, and my wife is all about stuff like that. That's how I know about that world. So,
oh yeah, it's different. It's a different crowd.
mhm.
So it takes a lot to get your head in the game for a true crime book.
Yeah.
I can
I'll bet.
imagine. So,
I try to do as much realistic research for what I do as far as details are concerned, which can take, maybe a month of solid effort. But I can imagine how much deep dive you need to do for a true crime novel.
True story, and I've told this before to other folks, but you guys will probably get a kick out of it. I got one night my wife came down and I was going over some autopsy photos on my computer. And I was really focused on the photos, and she came around behind me and she's like, "What are you looking at?" And I think she thought I was looking at porn or something. And then she's like, "Oh my God." And she's like, "This is a lot worse than what I thought you were looking at."
Did that.
It's like, sorry.
as
You
if
know,
to go back to looking at live naked people, not dead naked people.
Mine's the reverse.
Oh no!
I for G Sedai for the combat scenes, because they're sword fights, I was doing it like a couple of days worth of research into what wounds actually look like. And
Ooh.
so I'm sitting down here in my sitting room at my in my little office corner doing my thing, and my daughter comes down and she can kind of barely see the screen, and she's like, "What's that?" Because all sorts of interesting colors.
Yeah.
So she comes over and she goes, "Ooh, what are you looking at? Why are you looking at that?" And she's all interested in it because she's a little morbid.
to me, the other thing is my wife is the safest person on the planet because she knows that if anything happens to her and the police get on my browser history, I'm going to go to jail. And I don't. I go out of my way to make sure she's safe.
Yeah.
Sure. I actually saw an article about that. I forget where, but it was like the headline was woman goes missing after posting on social media about how weird it was that her husband was looking up how to dispose of a certain weight body on the internet. Like, come on, are you gonna be that obvious?
Yeah, well, there was. It was the woman up in Massachusetts who worked down in DC, and her husband had looked. He had actually Googled how to dispose of a 115-pound
That's what it
female
was.
body,
Yeah.
Oh
and it
my
was like,
gosh.
this guy has got to be one of the dumbest people on the planet. Plus, she disappeared, and they pulled the receipts, and he had bought $450 of cleaning products the day she disappeared at Home Depot. They
Yep.
found him in the basement along with traces of blood.
Oh,
Yeah,
good
it's
Lord.
like this guy has got to be the dumbest guy on the planet when it comes to doing this stuff. It's like, it's amazing, you know.
But that's nuts. Just oh man, the
People
world
are
of
funny, man.
the-
People are funny.
funny is the word. That is
Mhm.
definitely the word. So, oh my goodness, Lord.
Asking Alexa to stage the murder. There you
There
go.
you go.
Hey
That's-
Google,
that's
how
like-
do I?
Yeah, no. I'm
Alexa,
gonna go to
can you
chat,
get rid of my wife?
Yeah, I'm gonna go to Chat GPT and be like,
no.
"Can you please plan out the perfect murder for me?" And then the AI will spit it out and be like, "There's no traces left behind by
There's
this. I'm
no
sure."
choice. Yeah,
The only time you should be worried is when it says sure.
Yeah, right.
Oh no. Oh,
Or
no.
its response is contacting the FBI.
Yeah, there you
Yeah,
go.
I'm like, oh, great. Oh, God. Yeah, that chat GPT is nuts. But let's not go off on that
Yeah, I
tangent.
know.
However, Blaine, you just dropped a new book. Can you give us a little bit of the skinny on that one and what's going on
Please.
in the story there and your
Yeah, I'm kicking
inspiration
off
for
a
it?
whole new series with Brent Evans. It's called the series is called Land and Sea. The first book's called Splashdown. It's set, in 2039, so it's near future, military sci-fi book. And what's happened is there's been a whole bunch of anomalies in the oceans, and we've discovered that those anomalies are actually aliens have landed in the seas and have been doing it for 5 years, preparing for the onslaught. And this book is kind of the foundational book of the series to kind of set the world building and establish this ensemble of characters we've created. And then it really opens up with the aliens making their presence known. And so you get the initial battles that take place primarily on Guam, where you're going to see the Marine Corps go at the aliens. And the aliens have very distinctive, different technology than we do. Everything is biological based.
That's always fun.
Which is just, it's totally something that the military's not prepared for. And so plus they're not used to dealing with aliens, as you can imagine. So, you get a submarine captain who's dealing with these underwater aliens. You've got, the troops on the ground are fighting them. Plus there's other characters that we're kind of introducing that will throughout the series be kind of key characters for some of the stuff to do this. And of course we have mecha. We as evidenced on the cover, I'm not going to blow things up unless I can do it with a big stompy robot. So we're going to have
Yes, sir.
a couple of big stompy robots out there, but they're a little bit more reality based. Having been writing in Battletech for 37 years or so, it was good to kind of be able to go back to scratch and say, so how can we do this right? And how do we do it so people don't have to stretch their imagination and things along those lines, make it more plausible, And so the technology that's there is stuff in many cases that is being researched right now by DARPA and other groups. So we really just expanded on that and said, well, this is the next logical step out. Of course, I had to have a mecha there. So
Yeah, of course. So I have a bunch of questions. First of
Fire
all,
away.
about the Land and Sea series as a whole. When is because I feel like the Land and Sea series, has that been around for a little while now?
No, this is
Okay.
first book, first
Okay.
time out.
Was it Shock Monkey Games that?
Yeah,
was
Shock
doing
Monkey is
some
a
of the-
division of Creative Juggernaut, which is
Okay.
the company I'm one of the owners of. So
Oh, okay. I was curious
Right
about
on.
that because I think I'd seen something teased about it a while ago, and I wasn't sure. It
We
might have
did
just
a
been a
we
couple
did a
months ago.
Kickstarter
But
for our drinking game for the election.
oh, okay.
Flash.
Election,
It was a
okay.
card-based drinking game for the presidential debates.
Okay.
Which was
I-
a lot of fun until like the third round, and then I don't remember anything after that.
Okay, we're
I
gonna
was about to
bookmark
mention
that
that.
conversation for
Mhm.
later because that sounds right up my alley.
There you go. You can have.
I have a quick,
you can have seasonal variants.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
I have a quick question, just because I was curious, but I get distracted by my daughter for a moment there. When you say you were talking a little bit about the big stompy robots, when you say in a little bit more like back to basics, were you talking like walking heavy artillery or rudimentary mech suits?
Well, these are more mech suits. They're 12 feet tall. They're not 3 stories tall. They carry ammo that you could actually carry. One of the things that used to drive me nuts in Battletech is you'd have these 3-story mechs carrying 300 missiles, and I'm like, where are you putting
Yeah.
those?
Yeah.
Where
You
did they
know,
fit?
like it's
And why haven't you exploded when someone shot you?
Yeah, and the ranges in BattleTech made 0 sense. I mean, machine guns had a range of 50 meters. They had a range of 1, and it was like, you got to be kidding me. A machine gun could fire a lot further.
Mhm.
So we went back and really kind of just said, look, if we're going to do this, it's got to be real world based. And so the technology is real world based. The ammo is real world based. We use ground robotic drones, or GRDs, to do a lot of the heavy lifting for soldiers. Plus, they can do things like extract wounded soldiers off the battlefield. So you don't have to send troops to do that. And if you want to carry up a cargo stuff or whatever, you don't have to lug it on your back. To do that, you can have a GRD come alongside you and drop that off along with the ammo. So, soldiers can focus on being soldiers. And we really wanted to get into the combined arms aspect of this. So that you have tanks and infantry, and the mechs are not, we're not throwing armies of mecha out there to fight each other. They're there to augment existing military things. So a lot of it's real world based. I mean, we were talking about research, and this is the kind of stuff, I'm going through small unit tactics for
Gentlemen, I'll be
Ranger.
right back. The children are summoning me.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff you have to do. It's just part of the fun. So we really wanted to make them we really wanted to create something so to the point where we were hoping that the Pentagon gives us a ring and says, hey, come on in and talk to us.
Nice.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
I like the idea of power armor over like giant robot.
Well, I think even if it's really too bad what's going on with BattleTech, because I love the franchise in a lot of ways, and it was one of the first video games that I really got into was Mech Warrior 2, and that just captured me. And unfortunately, my favorite mechs, I was I don't know how old I was, but I was very young, and the mech that I chose to do the missions was a Nova, and a stock fit Nova. So whenever I shot the lasers, the whole thing would literally just blow up from the heat.
Yeah, the heat was bad.
It's like one of the most famously bad mechs, but I kept picking it because I just was like, oh, I like the way it looks. Surely this is the only criteria I need to know. I'm 7 years old. Or
Aesthetics only.
And so anyway, but ever since then I've been really interested in mechs and Mech Warrior, and then actually getting into the tabletop. I've only really been avidly into it for a couple years now, but it's too bad what's going on culturally. But one thing that I always felt was the combined arms games seemed so much more interesting in a lot of ways for tabletop, but man, it's really hard to make a 3-story tall robot balanced in any way against a bunch of squishy people. You know what I mean? You just can't do it hardly. And so I always thought the trouble with combined arms is that it really significantly put strains on the rules and slowed the game down, which is already a little bit crunchy to begin with. So I'm glad. Basically, what I'm saying is I'm glad that there's kind of like a more manageable scale, and
Well,
that kind
you
of
know, big stumpy robots are fun. And I wrote Battletech for years. I enjoyed it, but there were things I avoided for years and never wrote about. Because the rules allowed you to put like 100-ton mech on top of a 3-story building, and I'm like, you clearly know nothing about structural engineering.
Mhm.
And even
General physics fail.
and the fans get, the fans are very passionate, and I'm a fan of BattleTech even to this day, despite what's gone down. I still love BattleTech. I just am not allowed to write over there.
Yeah.
And what's really interesting is that they don't. The fans get into, well, how do you camouflage a mech? And I'm like, it's 3 stories tall and it's running at 97 kilometers per hour. You can paint it fluorescent orange for all I care, because camouflage is moot. Especially when you start firing. Battletech's, the other part of it is, from a game perspective, Battletech, I've said this numerous times, is a game where you spend 8 hours fighting a 2-minute battle.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And that was always kind of a pain. So we're eventually going to have a tabletop and RPG system that ties into Land and Sea.
That was my next question. That's awesome.
The game is designed. I did the design work. It's in development right now, and in 2 weeks I get the tabletop rules. We're going to go through the first round of the development stuff for tabletop to make sure the mechanics all hold up. A lot of it's the math crunch that you do at this stage too, to make sure that it makes sense. And so, sometime late this year, we're hoping to be out in playtest mode, and then next year have the games out. But the fiction part is going to drive forward so that people can really immerse themselves in the universe.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's awesome, man. I look forward to that, because like you said, I love BattleTech, but I would love to have something that's a little bit more streamlined, that's not quite Alpha Strike. You know what I mean? Because I feel like Alpha Strike is a little bit too stripped down. It feels more like every other tabletop game to me, in some regards. But that's actually a good question, Sam. Will the tabletop be crowdfunded?
I believe so. That is our plan at this point, is to go down that path. For a number of reasons, but we're kind of planning on going down that path. It's just
makes a lot of sense these days.
It does, because if it's not going to work, it's not going to work, and then we don't have to go too much further with it, or we have to reskin how we do it. I don't want to go down the paths of some of these crowdfunded stuff where they promise so many add-ons and perks and stuff, to the point where it's like it's 2 years later and you're still waiting for stuff to show up.
Yeah.
I understand.
I always think
like the stretch goals and things. I've seen a lot of the stretch goals and stuff for a lot of these campaigns, and that just kind of becomes like I guess kind of like the thing to do in a lot of these crowdfunding campaigns anymore. And it'd kind of be nice for some, because people ask, well, what more can I get? Like if you reach this much money, and like, the product, like just that's it. Just the thing that I told you that I was initially going to create. Okay, if I hit this goal, you're going to get the product. And guess what? If I hit this goal, you're still going to get the product. Like, let me just focus on this one thing and make this one thing the best thing that I can make for you. And I think a lot of people are looking for quantity over quality nowadays. Not 100%, but it can feel like that.
Well, I think gamers are notorious for that. They all go, I will buy American. And it's like, okay, well, if you're going to buy American, then your miniatures are going to be about $10 a pop. And they're like, oh, wait, I'll buy Chinese. They're all about the holy cause until you go, okay, well, it's going to cost you more money. And then it's like, well, no, that's not it all. They'll let kids in a sweatshop be painting their miniatures in Thailand and not even think about it.
You're not wrong, though. I've had that conversation with a lot of people. You know, when everybody says, "Oh, well, we need to buy American, we need to do this," I was like, "Yeah, but you don't want to." Well, yeah, we do. No, you don't, because you're not willing to pay triple the cost for the things. Like,
Yeah.
just like you know, and obviously for good reasons. Like, most people have budgeted around the economy that we have. As screwed up as the economy is, that's where the budgets are. And so
True.
it's really kind of hard to get behind that holy cause when you go, "Oh, wait a minute, I won't be able to afford my mortgage if I buy American." Like, you know.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to put it out there that my kids are going to be, I think, sweatshop age here in about another 2 to 4 years. So
Yes.
I'll be offering my my services here very
There you
soon.
go.
Oh,
I think-
my God, I have so many ideas.
Yes, there you go.
I think the landscape's probably going to shift on that, though. We've had sort of at least on our side of the minefield, a pretty decent awakening to how things actually work, as opposed to just putting your head down and walking through the checkout line. Because of what's gone on with the economy, people are looking at, where the food's made, what it's made from, and how much it actually costs versus how much you're buying it for. And with that, I feel like maybe some of the Billy Mays mentality is going to start falling away. And I say that because I made a Billy Mays joke like 5 months ago, and his son actually, commented on it, which was pretty funny. But the but wait, there's more mentality that you see in these crowdfund campaigns. Anything to get somebody to, pitch in, and so you can reach your goals. I think that's going to start to fall away from the wayside once people start to realize how much effort goes into what's there in the first place.
Well, and I think some of it is too, we're coming to the realization, not only is our supply chain very fragile, but the world is there's a lot of shifting sands out there, and a lot can happen. And a lot of these companies are banking on, China to produce their goods. And so what happens when China invades Taiwan and we start leveling sanctions at them and the cargo ships aren't coming? Well, your Kickstarters are all dead. And China is notorious as well. I have seen it numerous times where miniatures that are being made by and sold by a company in the United States are being sold, kind of black market in China, for a hell of a lot less. So, it's just one of those things that I think going for the cheap source, China. I think people are going to go away from that, and go, I'd rather pay more, but know that I'm actually going to get it.
Something I've seen recently, as a consequence of kind of being a part of this whole Iron Age thing, which Razor Fist kind of coined the term, but it's something that's been going on, is there is a movement out there of individuals just doing and creating their own things. And I believe that is because just the cost of technology has just come down exponentially to the point where 1 to 2 people can self-manufacture themselves what it would have taken probably 20 or 30 people 100 years ago to do. For instance, my brother, and I'll give a little bit of a shout out here, my brother does his own Kydex open carry and concealed carry holster business. He actually he fully transitioned to his own business last year. It's called Ivory. It's called Ivory Holsters. He does all of it out of his garage and with a little bit of help from the family, but he's able to pump out with just the technology the way that it is now. He is able to pump out an immense amount of holsters, which, I mean, even 20 years ago would have been unheard of for a single person or a group of people, to be able to pump out that much quantity of a quality product. And so I think that what we're going to start seeing here is we may get to a point where we can buy American, because we're not going to be buying from major corporations. We're going to be buying from individuals again.
Yeah, I think
Hopefully
you're right.
so.
I agree.
I've been reading, my self-imposed exile here from running Battletech. I had the great opportunity to start reading actual indie writers again, and it's been fantastic. I have really been stunned at the quality of the stuff that I've read. And I'm like, and I've been published by Penguin Putnam. I've been published by a lot of big publishers over the years. And I'm like, some of the stuff I'm reading is better than what I can go to a Barnes and Noble and buy from a major league New York publisher. The difference is this is some guy this is his first or second book, and he's self-publishing it, but it's good stuff. And there's a ton of it out there, and that's one of the reasons when this opportunity came up, I was like, of course I'll take part in this, because I think the indie movement is something that no one can overlook at this point. And I've seen it already where I think a number of these guys are going to get courted by the larger publishers, but there's some downsides to that too, because these larger publishers are going to exert what they always do, which is, well, we know the business, and we're going to tell you what you now need to change in your book so that it sells. And New York's got a lot of problems with that, whereas indie publishers and indie writers and indie producers of comics and everything else can just do what the hell they feel like doing and tell great stories.
Yep.
Agreed.
DIY till I DIE.
Yep. There you go. I like that.
Yeah, I think stealing that. So I have a question for you about where you see things going. I mean, do you think that a major publisher is going to have to go bankrupt or get close to that before they start getting more accommodating to people who started as indie? Or do you think that that's something that's already happening, or where do you see that?
There was a merger this summer that got canceled between two large publishers. And I don't remember who they were, but they started doing the due diligence on this. And what they were finding was a lot of the books these guys were producing were only selling 12 copies.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I do remember that.
And what it is the major league publishers, and I don't want to get into the politics of it, but they're looking to check off boxes right now.
Yep.
And I will tell you, as a white male, I'm pale, male, and stale here. I can assure you. And I have an agent, and I've got I do work with some New York publishers over the years. But if I were to walk in cold turkey right now with the greatest book idea ever, guaranteed to be a bestseller, I wouldn't get my foot in the door at all. Right. My agent would tell me I need to tell the world I'm a trans person or I'm gay or whatever. And that's what's going to open the door. That is what they're doing. And what they're finding is those books aren't selling. When you're picking your authors, not based on the quality of their work, but based on checking off boxes, you're not going to sell the stuff. And
because it only appeals to 2% of the audience.
Right.
Yeah, and I don't think most of those people buy things anyway. That's the other thing. But so I think one of the more recent Razor Fist videos talked about this, where it's like people who are going broke tend to go woke so that they can try and signal willingness to either, merge with other large companies or basically kind of make themselves safe to buy, essentially, or safe to partner with in some fashion. I think that's very true.
Yeah.
But I think that, even as like a strategy, the problem is that as a strategy, okay, maybe that'd work, but you have to pretend to the point that while you're doing it, you're kind of infesting your company with people who are not primarily concerned with the well-being of your product or the well-being of your customers or anything else. You know what I mean? Like all that's secondary to an ideology that they're trying to pursue quite literally through their jobs. It's one thing to say, okay, I have an ideology and everything else, and then I also have my job, and I understand that there's a separation, but these people are being hired in explicitly to be ideological within the company. And I think it's a poison pill for a lot of people.
It is, and I had to deal a little bit with it with Battletech. The editor approached me at one point and he was like, well, you didn't have any females in the last two chapters, so why don't you change one of these it's male to female. And I'm like, why? And he goes, well, because it's all men. And I said, I hate to break it to you, but somewhere in the real world, sometimes it's only guys on the call or in the meeting room. And if you look at this call, we're all guys here.
Yep.
His logic was one of you
and on the battlefield specifically.
Yeah, one of you is going to need to put on a wig because it's too much of a sausage fest, and that was the word he used for it at the time. and I said, look, I'm not going to change the sex of a character if it doesn't add anything to the story, and it
Correct.
Yep.
And he goes, well, but it's important, and we got to make sure we're hitting these demographic. And I'm like, I don't care.
But good stories will grab all demographics. What do they not get about this?
Yeah, I think it's very insulting to readers. To think that, I can't identify. Let's see here. I'm trying to think about, let's say I'm reading Splashdown, and I have a deep, abiding hatred for humanity. I might really identify with the aliens, for example.
Richard, are you trying
I don't
to
want to
tell
spoil
us something?
I might have an exoskeleton actually underneath this fleshy false layer that I'm wearing, but no, people act like, and it's everywhere now. You can't have floating meatball demons from Dungeons and Dragons. You can't have them be bad because they're inherently evil or something. They've got to be bad because of some other reason. It's like, this is just silly. And I saw, I don't want to talk about Battletech all night long, but no. I saw I can't remember what author it was, but I saw something just this week where somebody was talking about the clans, basically the clans basically being problematic. And I'm like, yeah, they are problematic, but it's okay. It's fiction, I don't know.
Yeah, the problem is people they're bringing real world politics into publishing. They're bringing real world politics into gaming. And what they don't understand is we read books and we play games to get away from all of that.
I love that you just said that. I have been harping on the idea for many months now that there is something in the brains of these people that is not right, in that they don't know how to separate fiction from reality, and they're trying to kind of combine the two together, and it's messing everything up.
Well, when you lock everybody up for a year and tell them to be on the internet and not interact with other human beings, it accelerates the problem. Believe me, I write some political stuff. The Blue Dawn series you see over my shoulder here is it's a conservative political thriller series. I'm unabashed about it. I don't care. It's something I enjoy writing, and that's where I put my politics stuff. I don't put it in any of my other stuff. When I'm writing military sci-fi, I'm not interjecting any political agenda or anything else. But their whole thing is, well, because you wrote that, no one can read any of your books. It's no longer this mindset of, gee, I'm not going to buy your book because I don't like your politics. It's not only am I not going to buy your book, but I want you to stop doing what you're doing, and no one can ever buy your book again. I want your books pulled off the shelves. No one should be allowed to read you. And it's like, what the hell is your problem? You literally are trying to break how the entire system works because you're upset. And the whole reality is the world doesn't owe you not being upset.
It almost feels like people are trying. It almost feels like people think that the block button on Twitter exists in real life.
They do.
Yeah, but they want it to.
Yeah.
It's so strange. It's so strange.
Anyway.
Yeah,
Well, that's what social credit's all about.
I wasn't going to get too far down into the weeds, but yes, 100%. Yeah. And do we really need social
about
credit
that
when we already have credit scores and we're trying to go cashless? And anyway, never mind. Sorry.
Okay, you guys are touching all of my tangent buttons. I've been promising you that I
I'm
won't
stopping.
tangent.
I had my smile on for a reason. I was like, Royce is so going to take the bait.
It's my first time. I'll be just.
I love everything that we're talking about right now. Like to the point that I will hardcore, like I almost hardcore derailed the stream getting away from your work and the things that you enjoy to talk about all this world insanity. But I won't do that. I promised my co-hosts I would stop.
We'll save it for another stream.
Just a few more minutes, and then we can go off the rails.
Yes. Oh, well, how long did we
try
make
to hold it?
How long did we make it last week before we went off there? What, about an hour and a half?
Yeah, usually it's the hour and a half mark we lose it.
Yeah, 9 is like the bare minimum in my opinion. So we got 8 minutes. We can hold it together for that long. No, I wanted to
just get back to talking about Splashdown. We'll be fine.
Yeah, I actually have some more questions about Splashdown.
Okay.
So one thing I noticed while reading Splashdown was there. I mean, obviously you're doing a lot of world building because you've got like. So you have, I think you have 8 characters that are like primary characters that are recurring. Is that's correct?
I don't. I never sat down and counted them. It's
okay, but you have a good number of them, and then have the what do you call them? The cycles, where you do basically a series of short stories. I mean, you have a ton of characters in that book, and obviously, whenever I got the advanced copy of it and was reading it, it was in an ebook, and I'll be honest with you, I ran up to the end of it, and I was like, "It's the end right now." What the? I was like, I don't like this at all. This is upsetting. Get me the next one. Chop chop. So when is the next one coming out?
February 16th. The pre-orders up for the Kindle.
Okay. I thought it was real close, but you said the next. I was going to say I thought that was your next release. So you've got one in between now and then.
No, February 16th will be the next book, and then I think it's March 20th is the third book.
Okay, great.
I've also written book 4 is done and is finished edit. Book 5 is done, and we're going through edit right now.
Wow.
So the goal is, and this was the advantage of working with Wargate as a publisher was, look, we don't want people waiting 6 months for the next book because they lose interest.
Mm-hmm.
And Wargate was like, no, we're going to pop these things. At least the first 3 are going to come out a month apart. So, you finish one, you're not going to have to go back and reread the first book to remember what happened. You can jump in. I'm doing the opposite of George R.R. Martin. I'm actually producing books.
Nice.
Well, I'm really glad to hear that because
I want to tweet that.
I enjoyed the story a lot, but like my only reservation. My only reservation to recommending it to anybody was like, I was like, man, it's like at the end of the book, you're like, okay, it's happening. Let's go. Oh no, it's the end of the book. If it was going to be like another year, I was going to be like, man.
No, it's a lot like I kind of compare it to Lord of the Rings, and not that I'm at that level of Tolkien, but you get through the Fellowship of the Ring. A lot of the Fellowship of the Ring is the world building and the premise building, and the tension kind of ratchets up. The next book is really my 2 Towers. I mean, it is you're going to get your Helm's Deep, okay? And
because I can already tell.
I live outside Washington, D.C., and I've always wanted to blow it up. And I'm not going to pass up that opportunity.
Rule 1 for being an author. Don't be George R.R. Martin.
You don't. Unfortunately, you don't get George R.R. Martin's money not being George R.R.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know. I might take his money if it, I don't know. Well, anyway.
Yeah, but I don't want to be the douchebag that he is. It's just, he's so... Yeah, really I should be working on that, but I'm going to go work on other things. And it's like,
he doesn't seem very happy either. No. I don't know any author that reads forums and changes his story because he saw something guessed, like that seems like somebody who doesn't have their priorities in line. You know what I mean? Like, like if I were to tell you I guessed where I guessed something in the next book, if you're like, oh, I got to edit it. I'd be like, you're a crazy person. Like, that's not like, don't do that. That's like part of the story writing process, you know?
Yeah.
Mhm.
At least to me, you want to telegraph some things, but
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed the book.
yes, definitely.
And I don't
I
feel
enjoyed it.
guilty at all about leaving you hanging.
Well, if it's only a month, then I'm happy to be left hanging, but for just 1 month, you know what I mean? So that's good. I'm gonna have to pick that up, and I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes. Eh, Can I ask a kind of a slight spoilery question? But with the um, wargaming, the tabletop game, are you thinking currently like 2 or 3 factions or more?
It's a little bit different. It's small unit action.
Okay, so it's not really that kind of thing.
Interesting.
And I'm going to go into spoiler territory. Okay.
Okay.
One of the things you're going to
first
see
here.
rise up out of this is, I don't want to call them factions, but there's, one of the things that made Battletech successful was the mercenary units, because you could go off and create your own little mercenary unit,
Mhm.
go blow stuff up, and you had fun. You had your own paint scheme, the whole bit. And I want, when we were doing this, I was like, we need to capture that in some way. So we have militia units that were formed to go hunting fish, and that's what we call the aliens, is fish, because we don't know where they're from. So there's no point in trying to come up with a cool space sounding, they're from Kalos 9, and so they're the Colossians type thing. We don't know where they're from. So, there's going to be militia groups. So there will be multiple factions like that. And there's also people that are, this war will hit every coastal city on the planet. And you'll get that view in the second book, definitely, which means you get to play this game if you live in a coastal city, and 2/3 of the planet does live near the coast. You'll get to use Google Earth and actually run the scenarios in your local town. So you can also have freedom fighters, which are people who don't evacuate when the aliens invade, who stay behind, because there's always people that stay behind. Every time they evacuate for a hurricane, there's always the idiots that go, no, all right.
Yeah. So I can create, you're telling me that I can create like a Florida man militia unit. All right. This
is, you're going to have the capability to create your own little militias. Just be forewarned, we're going to make character generation real easy because, well, they're going to die.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of get that feeling based on the first book.
So what you're saying is short character backstories.
Yeah.
Don't spend a lot of time getting emotionally attached.
So when the game master says, "Hey guys, give me a decent backstory," just give him an okay one.
Yeah. He worked at a 7-Eleven. Now he has a gun.
Yeah, he worked at a 7-Eleven.
Perfect.
So you're going to have the regular military fighting, but you're also going to have a lot of militia units up. And we've got in the fourth book, it's in the anthology of stories to give you more perspectives, but they're longer stories. And it's going to be really interesting because you'll get to see you'll see how the militia system operates,
well, that's good because I was kind of curious. One of the thoughts I had was I felt like with the way the stories were broken up, with basically a chapter per character per act or whatever you want to, I can't remember, cycle. And there were some of them where I was like, could this have worked as a series of short stories? Just kind of thinking about it. And I was like, no, it really wouldn't have, because it wouldn't have had like the tension. You know what I mean? Like you couldn't just relive. It'd be sort of boring to really relive the same event or, limited number of events in the way that that they would have played out. But yeah, I definitely enjoyed it. I'm really looking forward to the second one. I'm curious where this goes.
Well, it's going to be fun. What I like about it, and I was talking this with John last night, one of the things I really enjoy is I get the capability of pairing up these characters. So now that you know who they are, I don't have to do the background. And now you're going to get to see them in different environments. You're also going to get to see some of them working together or not working together. And that's kind of fun because when you do that, you get different interactions than you might expect and some that you totally will expect.
Yeah. Yeah, I can think of a few characters right now. Well, that's awesome. I guess just to talk about some of your other works that you're doing. You said that you had something from a different franchise that was coming out.
Yeah,
soon?
well, it's not so much a franchise. I got approached by
Or-
Bain Books approached me to contribute to an anthology, one of their weird horror anthologies. I have been approached. Wargate has a different universe altogether, their Legion universe, which is a military sci-fi thing, and they asked me to do a book over there, and I've pitched them a story, and they bought it. So I'm prepping to go do that, which is more mecha stuff. They have mechs in their universe, but they've never done a story about that. So I kind of put together a framework to do that. So I'm working on that. Then there's also book 6, which I know what I'm doing for book 6, which is going to be fun because it's going to involve a Space Force character and some other stuff that's just very cool and different. And that's going to be a neat standalone book. Book 5 and book 6 are kind of just complete standalone books with a completely different set of characters. So once a year, we're going to try to do 2 or 3 books that are, the large ensembles again. And some of them,
that's
some
awesome.
of the characters you're going to see from the original ensembles make cameo appearances in some of the other books. So it's
that makes sense. I'm really looking forward to that. It sounds like you're trying to bootstrap an entire, universe here in a big way. That's a huge amount of just words. Good gracious. I don't even know how many words you're at, but it's a ton.
Well, this first book was at around 125,000 words. The second book is, I think, 138,000, and the last book's 150,000.
Jeez.
So they're huge. One of my
well, you do have a lot of characters. I feel like you got to have a, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
you got to have a lot of words.
Well, but we whittle them down too.
I imagine. I kind of got the feeling.
Yeah, not everybody walks away from this. So we'll see. It's fun.
Well, man, I'm glad to hear it. And
there we go. I was on mute.
Oh, you were on mute. Well,
I was.
I'll let you cut in.
There's a lot of noise in my house currently, as there always is. No, I wanted to ask just, and I'm glad that I was on mute because you guys kept the conversation going. And I'm really glad I didn't interrupt when I wanted to originally. So yay for me being on mute. But the question that I wanted to ask is, so you're having these more mech suit style, giant stompy robots. But let's talk about the diversity of the giant stompy robots. What are we going to see with how do the giant stompy robots, what different kinds of giant stompy robots are we going to see? Can you talk about that? How maybe some factions might utilize different types or anything like that? Or is that something that should be left alone?
Well, it's not so much the factions will get them. What's going to happen is the militia units are going to get the earlier version stuff, kind of like the National Guard always gets the crap.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're going to get stuff that the National Guards rejected that's left over from the last war. So like the Gen 1 suits, which are more like Iron Man power armor suit type things. That type of stuff will get handed down to militias. And of course, militias can allegedly salvage. They have salvage rights to be able to go and scarf up stuff in the battle zone. So, there'll be a competition. Obviously, the military tries to always recover Asher rigs, but I'm sure if a militia unit recovers one, they get to keep it. So there's going to be a lot of push for that type of stuff. So that's kind of some of the fun.
There you go.
There's going to be a lot. I want to say we had 30 designated rigs that we have put together.
Awesome. Yeah,
we haven't built them all.
I've
got a construction set of rules and so that I use just like with Battletech type stuff to build them. So I'm kind of going through that, but they're very real world based. So it's not as complicated as Battletech, where you're spending 6 hours trying to min max your mech's build so that it's the optimal.
Don't take away min maxing.
Yeah, I was going to say I actually have a question for you. Back in the world of BattleTech, I know you used to play.
No.
I know you used to play Mech Warrior Online.
Yes.
Do you? First of all, what's your favorite loadout? What did you usually play?
I played the Kraken Atlas.
Okay.
That was what I played. I stopped playing when I got exiled.
Yeah.
I deleted my files and shut everything down.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, I don't want to.
I haven't played it.
I can't promote BattleTech. It's just no way.
Yeah, no, I understand. What have you played any other mech games that really?
I like Titan. I played Titanfall.
Okay, yeah, that was such a good game.
On the Xbox, I like Titanfall. I played all the old mech stuff back in the day. I wrote the source book or the cheat guide book for the Sega Genesis.
Awesome.
Mech Warrior, thing. I wrote the book for that, so that was kind of fun. And I always enjoyed playing it, but it's just not fun for me anymore.
Oh well, of course not. Yeah, no, I completely understand that. There was a weird little franchise called Chrome Hounds that was on the Xbox 360, and it was a really odd little game. It was kind of it definitely had mechs, but it also had wheeled and tracked chassis. And the thing about it is that you could just start building and you slap an engine on it, and then you just start basically Legoing things together. And it actually worked a lot better than what you might expect, until people realized that all you had, the best strategy was to put chicken legs on everything, the biggest engine you could, and then giant howitzers, and just go about, blasting each other from a bajillion miles away. And it was basically it was multiplayer only for the most part. And so they shut down the servers after a couple of years, but it had a lot of really fun mechanics to it. And I always think I'm kind of glad to see that there's so many different smaller what do you want to call it, smaller companies getting into the mech business. Because for so long it's well, what mech game did you play? Well, let's see here. I played Mech Warrior this, Battletech that, and I still like them obviously, but I'm I want some more some more options. There's plenty of things to explore. So I'm glad to hear that you're doing that, and I feel like there's a lot more mech type stuff going on in the past, I don't know, I'd say couple of years. I feel like the 2018 Battletech game kind of awakened people to the fact that it existed.
I think so. You got to bear in mind, I was around during the 80s and 90s when Battletech was at its peak. I know Catalyst likes to kind of say, "Oh, we've re-peaked," but honestly, back then when Rock was publishing the books, we would sell 60,000 paperback books, and now if they sell 10,000, it's a big sale, for a lifetime.
I think some of these are Rock books. In fact, most of these are. These ones are. But
it just it's one of those things that it's not where it was back in the day, and I remember back in the day when things were there. So I don't know if it'll ever go back to that or not.
Well, even if it doesn't go back to that for for Battletech, I think that it will. I don't know. I think that one thing I saw chat talking about 3D printing, and I'm, like 3D printing has come a long way, even with crummy Chinese printers. And there's like very high quality printers coming out of Europe that aren't that much more expensive. And you know, the nice thing about 3D printers is that like it's very simple pieces, and you can use a 3D printer to print another 3D printer plus a couple of, you know, basically stuff you can find at the hardware store and the electric store, or you know, the electronic store. And so that tech is out there now, and you can get really high quality stuff. And especially, I like the Catalyst Game Lab minis, but they're all very samey looking. You know what I mean? And none of them are really made with 3D printing in mind, of course. And so my thing is I think somebody is going to eventually come along and find some real 3D printing friendly units, whether it be mechs or, you know, characters. I don't know if you've heard of Hero Forge.
Yeah.
But, you know, all these others, and it's going to be like, all right, go through this, go to our website. And it's like, you know, all right, you know, pay 25 cents and download the file, and then you can print it yourself. And, or you tell us what printer you have and we'll basically send it to you. You know, I think that we're going to see interesting stuff like that start coming in the future.
Well, let me tell you, we've had this discussion at length because I got an 8K resin printer here. I bought it specifically to learn how to do 3D printing. And I will tell you that it is good, if not better in some cases than doing resin molding prints that we do. The approach that we've taken with Creative Juggernaut and Chunk Monkey Games, and it's something Brett and I and Eric and Kevin, you know, who make up the company, have had numerous discussions about. We're still working through the details, so this is all preliminary. But, you know, I said these companies like GW and Battletech that are sending out cease and desist letters constantly to 3D printers and telling them, hey, stop selling these mechs, they're ours. I said the only people making money doing that are the lawyers. You know,
exactly.
And 3D printers are not going to go away. They're going to be here for a long time. And that technology is going to be picked up by more and more people. So we have to be a 3D printer friendly company. Now, some of the ideas we're batting around, none of these are cast in stone yet, but we will release a miniature that you will buy in the store if you want to go buy it. And it'll have a certain pose. And then maybe 90 days later or whatever, we're going to sell the STLs for that with a completely different pose. And you can go buy it. Now, for guys who are like, hey, I got a game Sunday, I don't have time to print one up, you know, I'll just go to the game store, buy one, quickly super glue it together and play. Hey, go for it. Or if you don't have a 3D printer, go buy the miniature. Hey, you know, you can still play. But we're going to sell the STLs in some way, shape, or form so the people that want to play the game who have a 3D printer, yeah, it might cost you the cost of the miniature, but you can make as many as you want. And if you want to tweak them, you can tweak them all you want. And
exactly. Yeah, I think that's a really
you're going to play the goddamn game. Just play the game.
So what you're saying is you're going to support your fans by giving them more access to your game.
Yeah, well, you gotta bear in mind.
So that's a weird concept to me. How does that work exactly?
Look, you know, I've been.
You said it wasn't set in stone, so they're not sure.
Well, you know.
Yeah, but I've been a gamer for years, and sitting around fighting with. First of all, there's guys in Poland that if you put out a miniature, they're going to scan it and duplicate it and make it anyway. It is going to happen.
Yes.
Yep.
And there's guys that do it in China, and there's guys that do it in India. If you make a miniature, they'll buy one for $20, get it, scan it, and they'll produce it. So why fight this, and why spend your time trying to go after them if they're making products that people are going to use to play your game? Then just sell your game, and the miniatures. You'll make money because there's going to be people that never buy a 3D printer, or guys who go, look, I want that certain pose for the alien, you know, and you know, I want it I'll buy the miniature for it, or I can't wait till the STL comes. I'll go buy the miniature, and then when the STL comes, I'll buy the STL. You know how completist gamers are. Let them do that. To me, fighting it, the only people who are going to make money are the damn lawyers. And all you're doing every time you do that is you're pissing off your customers. And you're telling them, like, I'm going to pretend your technology is something illegal, and it's not. This is the reality of the world we live in. And this was done on an 8K printer. This is actually one of the aliens that's in the book, and this is the size and scale of these things.
Wow,
and
that's awesome.
And I like that it's multi-hex as well. That's nice.
If you want to play with something like that, and you want to print that out, that may take on an 8K printer. That may take like 5 hours to print. Okay, well, if you don't want to do that, you can go buy the damn miniature. But it's up to you. And you're going to have to figure that out for yourself. But I don't think a game company should be dictating that stuff.
No.
Bro,
dude, you need to read my Blue Dawn series. That's all I can say, is because AOC's in there.
I'm waiting for like the Blue Dawn Land and Sea crossover, but anyway.
No, that's not going to happen. But there's a lot more battles coming up in the new books for the Blue Dawn series because the American Civil War is unfolding. So I could see us leveraging the rules.
Oh, he said the Tim Pool word. He said the Tim Pool word.
He did.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you have that? I think I saw you put out a tweet, or maybe it was a blog post, where you had a picture of that the fish mini as well as an Asher rig. Do you have that Asher rig within reach? Oh, is that it back there? Oh no. There we go. Very nice.
That's cool.
Yeah, I like that. Then that's the one that's in the thumbnail as well, and on the cover of the book, I think.
Yeah, it is, and it's 28 millimeter because this is gonna sound funny. Obviously, it's a scale we want to do the game, and we want to do a version of the rigs at some point where you can actually paint the pilot, put him in the rig.
I'm down. I'm sold.
Very cool.
I know. It's like you can't do that with Battletech because the miniature would be like.
Well, it would be. Yeah, it would be. It'd be tiny.
So what you're saying is you're basically going to make action figures, and no, baby, I'm supporting this artist. No, it's fine, and you're going to give me an excuse to play with action figures again.
If you want to call it an action figure, I don't care. To me, it's like, look, that's something I always want to be able to do. So we're going to do this. And the Asher rig miniatures are larger than the standard Battletech miniatures. If I put it next to a Marauder, it's taller than the Marauder, it's wider than the Marauder, etc. But if you want to use it for Battletech, you can come up with your own stats for it. Knock yourself out, have some fun. But to me, I'm a gamer. I want to just play with stuff. I want cool miniatures. I want to blow stuff up. And
the cool factor.
Yeah, I want that stuff. So they're definitely going to do it. Plus, these rigs have adaptive camouflage systems. So, I don't want to say cloaking devices, but it's a cloaking device. So one of the things we talked about is, can you print them with the clear resin? So when they're in a cloaked mode, you play it with just transparent, and you put it on the field, and then when you shut off your adaptive camouflage or it fails, then you use the regular miniature to show it, So there's a lot of cool stuff we've been playing with for a while that I can't wait.
Well, I like that the miniatures are going to be a little bit bigger because, even though I've always loved Stompy robots and like I said, I enjoy the CGL miniatures. It's like, man, I've painted them and I enjoy painting them, but like it's a bit of a chore. You know what I mean? Like you got to be real careful with what you're doing because there's not a lot of real estate. So
no. Well, with these, there's plenty of room for nose art. And,
exactly.
And that's the other thing we've got. I don't know, the Devil Dog, which is on there. If you zoom in real close, you can actually see the nose art on Rickenberg's rig, and it's the bulldog with a cigar with a chain gun, and it's just fun stuff. There's another one coming out for the new book. We haven't put the nose art yet on the rig for the cover. We're having an artist do the work for us, and we got to make sure we get it just right, because I use the word nipple in describing one of the pieces of the nose art. We want to make sure we get that absolutely correct.
Oh God.
And the only PC thing that we've ever done and will ever, because we don't deal with any of the politics stuff in Land and Sea, but I did approach Brent, because Brent was doing the cover for book 2, and it's Adam Kane is on the cover, and it's his unit, and his call sign's Brass Balls. And I said, can we hang a trailer hitch set of brass balls in
truck
the
nuts
notch of the neck? And I will say this, Brent actually took on the role of adult, which is a stretch for him, but he said no.
Thank God.
But
I mean, they probably will.
That all of
they
you
probably
know
would
I
have
thought about it.
I mean,
yeah.
Somebody is somebody who is hearing this, who knows that you're going to put out the ability to print your miniatures, is going to print up one of your miniatures with truck nuts hanging off of it.
Oh, I'm already planning on it.
I think that's the way to go.
Yep.
And you know what? I think
So you're
it's
looking
fun
at
to
him.
do that stuff.
Mhm.
Look. If you've ever talked to guys in the military, that would happen.
Oh, it would.
Sure.
Yeah, they would. Oh yeah, nope, yep. Just anything that they could to, one, just have fun, and two, screw with the people that they're currently shooting at.
Yeah.
So, oh yeah, that's no. So I and hopefully this is an okay question to ask.
I think we've crossed about every barrier when I use the word nipple, right?
Oh no, not yet. Well, this one's a little.
No.
So obviously you were in the Battletech world for many years.
Yeah.
You leave the Battletech world for reasons. Now you're coming out with a game, and you still love it. You still love the giant stomping mechs. You're building stuff out of that. Are you seeing anything from Battletech diehards, or are you seeing anything from like going after you, like, oh, you really think you're going to compete with these guys? Are you getting any backlash for just trying to build what you're building, and is that coming at you at all?
Yeah, a little bit. The haters love to hate, and so the first thing somebody says, this is cheap rip-off of Battletech, and they posted this yesterday, and I'm like, you haven't read a single word of the book. Mm-hmm. There's nothing in here that's Battletech. It's just not.
I was gonna say, if I was being charitable to that person, I could be like, well, maybe you could believe that if the book wasn't out yet, maybe, and you didn't know anything about the premise. But one thing I was really struck by was how different the setting. I mean, it's radically different, and I actually kind of like, going back to Battletech briefly, I like generally the Battletech universe, but I've always found that, and I read Highlander Gambit over the summer because I was going back and like being a completionist about reading the books before everything went, started getting woke. But and I skimmed back over it this week, and I was just reminded, like, the mercenary companies are always like, they're always so beloved in the Battletech lore, and I understand why, but it's one of these things where it kind of gets to the point of the mercenary companies can almost do no wrong most of the time. You know what I mean? And I think that's a little bit silly to think every single mercenary corps or mercenary company is going to be more like a comrade, like brothers in arms, than mercenaries necessarily. And so one thing I really liked is that with you going into the like traditional military, and then you're gonna have militias, like, to me that makes a lot more sense to where you would find some of these like brothers in arms and those bonds and everything else. So, and obviously the enemies being vastly different.
Well, yeah, but the haters did come at me. There was a couple people that were like, "You're going to get sued," and I was like, "Bring it on!" I'm like, I'm totally into it. If you want to open up legal action, believe me, I've got a lot of different ways I can engage that. So, oh, please come at me with that. You want to open that can of worms, that's fine. And then to Catalyst's credit, they announced yesterday that, the book was coming out. They posted it on their social media. I don't know if that was some sort of olive branch or whatever. Nobody talked to me about it directly from Catalyst. It was, they put it out there, and then that, of course, upset the woke people because people were going,
"Yeah, I was
it might be they're bringing Blaine back," and then immediately the wokesters were all like, "Oh my God, they can't do that!" And it's amazing to watch. Once you open the door for the woke into your company, they're like a cancer, and they're everywhere, and you can't get them out because whatever you do is going to offend them, and they always have to have a target. So even if you state something and go, "Hey, we're going to do this, we're going to change it," they're like, yeah, but that's not enough. You got to do more. You got to change this now. And,
you got to get rid of Rommel tanks. That was when I was like, "This is silly. You guys have made this is very, very silly."
It was an idiotic move because the Rommel tank's been around since 1986 or 87. It appeared in the Battletech universe. So for 30 some years, nobody had a problem with it. Nobody. And out of the blue, it's like, we're going to fix this. We're going to do away with the Rommel tank. And it's like, okay, you can do whatever you want. It's your franchise. It just looks stupid. And
and my thing is that you're feeding people who, like I said, the clans, everybody. Literally, like, Battletech is like is war crime central. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a happy place. And like, you guys chose the Rommel tank to start with. Like, that's obviously these people are working up to more and more requests. So.
You saw it the other day when that other author posted the "Hey, we're going to fix the clans. They're evil. And we're going to fix them." And we've been doing that. We've been playing this for years, and he really took the stand of, "I'm one of you. I'm woke, and I support this." And the first thing somebody posted was, "Well, don't tell us that you're on our side. You wrote about." The patriarchy, there's no women leaders in this. You talk about, royal houses. So you're pushing that agenda, you're not one of us. And it was like, this was somebody who was trying to put on the crown and go, "Hey, I'm the king of wokedom." And it's like the woke reject that, they're like, "No, you're not one of us. You're actually part of the problem."
Well, they'll be like, "Oh yeah, come on in," until you've burned all your bridges, and then they have control over you, and then they sacrifice you.
Yeah.
It's so predictable. It's like, please just stop. Can you guys just stop? Apparently
the part that was funny, you guys will appreciate this, because I'm one of the owners of Creative Juggernaut. So when I got canceled, and somebody actually contacted Creative Juggernaut's email account and said, "You guys need to fire Blaine Pardoe.
Whoa.
He's this, he's that, he's transphobic, he's a patriarchal terrorist, he's this, he's that." They rattled off all this stuff. And the guys were like, "Look at this," and I said, "Let me respond." And I was like,
crack the knuckles before you.
I was like, I'm going to keep it short because it's real simple. Because it's like, well, one, everything you wrote is a lie, and two, I own part of the company. Fuck off.
Correct answer.
So it's like you can't cancel somebody who has fans. You can't cancel somebody who is good at their craft. You can't cancel somebody that wants to just have fun. And that, if you allow yourself to be canceled, that's what's going to happen.
And that's what drives them insane. It drives them insane when they for some, and it's this power trip. And when they, they're the drudges of society, I'm convinced of this. Because they're not willing to go out and create something of their own, and the only way that they can seem to have power over people is through their soapboxes on Twitter. If they cannot cancel you, if they can't strip you of everything and make you bow down to them, they short circuit. They don't know how to handle it, because they really do. They just have this idea that they have the power over people simply by throwing all these I guess these slurs around at this point is kind of what it's turning into.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to watch. They go after so many. I mean, look at what's going on with J.K. Rowling right now with the Harry Potter thing. Have you been keeping up with that?
Yeah, I did.
It's psychotic. She agrees with them in like 99% of everything that they say, except for one thing. And they hate her for it. It's crazy. There's a guy up in Canada right now pulling the Harry Potter books out of their binding, rebinding them with his own art and without her name on it, and then taking the copyright pages out of it without her name on it, and saying that he's helping the Harry Potter fans enjoy Harry Potter and try to get away from J.K. Rowling. It's insane.
I saw that, and my initial reaction was, she's worth $8.5 billion. I assure you, her lawyers are going to disembowel that guy.
I hope.
And because you can't just do that because you want to do it. Your participation trophy does not give you the right to do things that are illegal. And it's amazing to me that they go after her. To your point, she stated her opinion. Okay, well, if you don't agree with her, don't buy her books. But that's not enough.
But they can't. But that's what's so funny. They can't not buy her book. They have to. For some reason, this world is so just entrancing to them, and I don't know. It lets them feel like a magical fairy unicorn. I don't know, but they can't not read her work, and it's like watching. It's like watching the woke engage in sin. Right? Like if they had a sin, like that's what it would be, is reading a book from somebody who's a heretic.
Yeah.
And it's mind-boggling.
Yeah, I think, I don't know what it is, but I feel like Harry Potter is kind of like one of the like central alternative readings that kind of like the liberal I don't know, like monoculture kind of glommed onto. So they have like Harry Potter, and it's religious. And so it's like they want to displace all sort of religion, or at least kind of make it all the same-ish. And so I think that Harry Potter is kind of like one of those works that they spend a lot of time kind of canonizing. And then the creator steps out of line, because they thought the creator was basically theirs, and they could do with whatever they wanted to. But I don't know. This is just kind of like theoretical rambling on my part. If we want to go to chat, we probably could. We've descended into talking about truck nuts.
Yeah, it's right. We way off the rails.
Oh no.
There are some comments
truck
on
nuts
the
are
truck
par for
nuts.
the course.
Everybody
liked
and it was Toxic Crusader who did it. I might have to, because you
Not
mentioned
surprised.
Yep. Okay. Important questions. Do the mechs have enough mobility to perform a teabag on downed enemies?
I will say yes, but I'm not. I haven't gone through the balance issues that are going to be required for that. And I think the actual problem would be the view, because you can't see directly under you.
Camera. You can put a camera.
Well, I was going to say these are mechs. So you just put a camera
you
down
could
there.
have a camera. I think you
got the nut
at
cam.
that point you'd be talking to your tech, who'd be asking why you need a camera directly under you, and you'd have to say, so I can teabag a crab.
Yeah, I would be like, to give them these nuts. That's exactly how I would say, to give them these nuts.
Battle nuts.
I was gonna
Technically,
say-
it should be possible, but I'm really hoping it does. I don't foresee it in the fiction. Let's put it that way.
You're the one who brought up truck nuts, and
You
now
know-
you don't want the people.
You never
who-
should have told us
And I
about this.
instantly regretted it.
I'm gonna
Based
embed-
on the
Welcome
design
to
by
my
the
chat.
miniature, yeah, based on the design by the miniature, I would have to say yes.
Yeah,
Just because the leg positioning, you definitely can squat, and therefore
I'm buying
do
those
that.
STLs, and they're gonna get some printed truck nuts. That's all I gotta say.
Oh my god!
I'm
that's
gonna open up an
incredible.
Etsy shop called Battle Nuts. I'll give you guys a percentage, okay?
Oh my god! And you can do custom, like different ones. You got to work with Blaine on this though, because some of them could have like.
Yeah, I don't want to step on his toes too much,
Yeah,
but
no,
we need to have the
no.
Battle Nuts line.
Yeah,
Just
you've gotta
trust
have
me.
the
I think you're working in the fringe there.
I
I don't want to be tainted by that.
Have
There
you
you go.
met the internet? Have you met the internet ever?
Yeah.
My chat is the internet.
Still a
Oh.
niche market, man.
Oh, good God. This one, not a super chat, but a good question from Horizon Talker. This is back when I was asking you what
HT.
brings you to write so many different genres. And a better question, why do so many authors only write one genre?
You know, the old school thinking, my agent actually chided me for doing it. He's like, look, the way you want to do this is you want to pick your genre, and that's what you write in. And you write lots of stuff in that genre, and you build up a client, you build up your fan base, and that's where you go. And I was like, yeah, but I want to write other stuff. At the time I was talking about doing military history, and he goes, well, you're going to have to start all over and build a whole new following and stuff like that. And what I found is a lot of your fans will just follow you no matter what the hell you're writing.
Mm-hmm.
As long as it's good, I would assume.
Honestly, your enemies will follow you and as well. They will go out and buy your book just so they can write nasty comments about it. So
Yep.
I think a lot of authors are still thinking old school that, you know, I need, if I start in this niche, this is where I got to play. And I don't subscribe to that at all.
So I actually have a question related to that, which is like, you seem extremely productive as far as authors go, and I don't, not that I've talked to tons and tons, but you seem very productive.
I agree.
Is part of that because you're like focused on having fun rather than like writing what you want to write rather than trying to grind something out? Or
Yeah, well, it helps. 3 years ago, I retired from corporate America, and I was working, you know, full time plus, and then writing, you know, on weekends and things along those lines. I'm very disciplined in my writing. I write every day, and I write as much as I want to write because I'm quasi-retired now. So if I want to do 10 hours in a day, I do 10 hours a day. If I want to stay up all night writing, I can do that. You know, I can do whatever I want. And and because I'm writing stuff that I like, the Blue Dawn series and Land and Sea are things I really enjoy, and I love the characters, and the stories are fun to do. It's super simple to do, and I know these people. I ran into one of my neighbors at the gym today, and I didn't recognize him because I spent so much time with imaginary people. You know, he walked up and he's like, "How you doing, Blaine?" I'm like, "Look, I know you. Who are you?" And he's like, "I'm Walter down the street." And I'm like, "Oh, damn." You know, like I feel bad, but I was like, you know, what can I say? I'm spending my time with my imaginary friends. And that's, you know, to me, it's super simple to do when you're writing stuff you really enjoy, and you don't have to worry about checking boxes and is an editor going to tell me to change the sex of this, and you know, that stuff starts creeping into the back of your head when you're working on stuff.
Sure does.
And I have the luxury of being able to purge that. I'm just telling great stories, and that's all I need to focus on. And some fans are going to go, "Hey, I'm never going to buy your stuff again. You're an asshole." Okay, great. Don't buy my stuff, you know.
Cool.
But you know what? I'm writing now for a broader audience than just the Battletech audience, and they're coming along to it. And yeah, this is going to be a big deal, and people want to be a part of it. Be a part of it. If you don't want to be a part of it, well, don't.
Yeah.
Right. Oh,
For sure.
absolutely. So these next few are from Kikomon, and they are not for Blaine.
Okay.
They're mostly to give me shit. So
Kikomon time.
Kikomon time. Yes, Kikomon is fantastic. And he says, never fight a battle that Soy has already won for you. Soy has already gone before you today. The battle is already fixed and victory is already won. Today is your day for the miracle of soy sauce. I love Kikomon. He's trying to make soy sauce alpha again.
Yes.
He's such a great dude. He's such a great guy. And this will also show you why. Royce chickened on Soma Beta. He also didn't play the right goat simulator low sodium for $10. Thank you so much, Kikomon. And the last one was also for $10. So for $20 right there from Kikomon. Thank you so much. So Raul Neonzi sent me this, and I actually have to pull some stuff up. Blaine, give me just a moment. But Raul asked me to share these with you. I do need to.
And Raul wrote. He's an Iron Age author. Wrote what was it? The Perils of Sasha Reed.
Perils of Sasha Reed. Yes.
Okay.
All right. And no, I do have to. Sorry, I needed to download some images. I don't like leaving stuff in the Gilded chat, predominantly because things in Gilded chat can show private messages and things like that, and I don't want to show any private messages there. So I do apologize. It's taking me too damn long on this.
Second boomer moment.
It's not a boomer moment. It literally takes time to do things, you dicks.
Well, but it doesn't stop me.
Prepare ahead of time.
Right.
Hold that boomer thought, okay?
Hold that. He's like, yeah. Be careful.
It's not a boomer thing. I'm not a boomer. I'm a graybeard.
Oh,
yeah, there you go.
We have Mike down in the chat. Hello, Blacklist Universe. That is Mike S. Miller. Blaine, I'm not sure if you're familiar with him. Okay, and now I can get to the super chat for $4.99. Raul Neonzi says, check DMs, Royce. They're soldiers from the United Terran Defense Force in the Perils of Sasha Reed, the defectors that make their silly outfits practical. So this is something, these are some pictures from his book that he wanted me to share with you. And I love that. I love when people get involved, like, hey, dude, show him what I'm working on. I want him to see what I've got going on here. So these are some of the, like I said, some of what he is doing to show the soldiers from the United Terran Defense Force. Let's go over here. All right. He is putting a ton of work behind what he is doing, and it is just he's really working hard in the Perils of Sasha Reed and that entire universe. So Blacklist setup. Universe, did you know Carl McKeck?
I don't think so, but
I don't know.
It could be like Walter, the guy I met for the gym.
I don't know. Probably, yeah.
I was going to say he doesn't remember his neighbors. It might not be the best time to ask.
Well, I like the skirt only because I remember reading Heinlein, and I can't remember the story, but they were talking about how they could hide every kind of weapon under a kilt.
Right.
Yeah, kilts are the most practical attire for someone because you can strap a submachine gun under a kilt.
Tactical kilts are awesome, but I'm not going to get into that one.
Well, you're talking about somebody who plays bagpipes. I mean, quite literally, I got my practice channel right here.
Oh,
that's nice. Awesome. Love talking with musicians.
And I do own a kilt and a sporn.
Oh, he's saying Carl McKeck created Robotech.
Oh yeah, Robotech. I enjoyed Robotech as a kid. Well, when I was younger. I shouldn't say as a kid. I enjoyed Star Blazers. I thought Star Blazers is one of the. First of all, it's the best theme song for any science fiction universe because it actually tells you what the whole show's about.
Yep,
that's awesome.
And it was a great series to watch at the time. Robotech was good. The Min-May stuff I wanted to gouge my eyes out with. But watching the mecha in battle and stuff was a lot of fun.
Yeah, the shifting forms and the early mecha, they kind of phased it out as time went on, and just focused on the mech form and the plane form, which I thought was kind of silly, because they're in space.
Yeah.
So it doesn't
Those
really
wings
matter.
didn't do a damn thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I loved the transition form, the half one where it was mostly plain, but it had the arms and legs.
Yeah.
I thought that was perfect. It was like almost an all-terrain vehicle change form, and I loved it. But they phased it out.
Yeah.
I collected Transformers back in the day, and I got what was apparently a Robotech toy. And it was one of my favorites because it was like all metal, and it was, it was fantastic. And you could do the half transformed, like you could do all three of the different transformations on it. And I loved it. And that was like my very first, I guess, mech, like introduction to mechs of any kind. I guess Transformers are mechs, kind of. They're kind of their own thing, but very, very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was such a unique concept back then.
It was. I missed Transformers. That was post the era that I got into it. But Star Blazers was always a great one. And I was like, it was one of those that I always thought deserved a better treatment in the gaming perspective.
I'm gonna have to go back and watch the at least the intro song, because I don't really remember it.
It was pretty cool. I mean, obviously it's from a bygone generation, but it was cool.
Yeah.
And it has a timeless quality to it.
Yeah, I think. Well, and I don't know the Robotech stuff. But like
I always claim the second season of Star Blazers was essentially what they ripped off to do Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan.
Mm-hmm.
They steal the ship. They go on the it's like okay, we're Star Trek 3. It's like you guys are dipping into that well a little bit.
A lot of stuff did that back
then.
then.
Blacklist Universe is down in the chat, and he is
Mr. Mike.
Yes.
We're off to outer space. Oh yeah.
Wow. All right, let's get back over here. We have $2 from Kikomon. He says soy sauce warrior with a plastic fish head works. Oh God. And then this is something he actually got a little serious on, his 3D printing for the win, minus durability. And Kikomon actually talking with him. He's wildly smart about stuff like that. Like really smart. I mean, also really drunk. It's weird to hear like a really smart dude hammered, but still talk about smart things. Like, it's like you don't know where you fit in, because on one hand he's drunk, so like you're comfortable, but on the other hand he's like really smart, so you're just out of your element. It's this weird place to be. So Isidro Lopez Irwin for $2 says, being consumer friendly, say no more. Yes.
There's your sales pitch.
Well, but you've seen it all this week. Look at what Wizards of the Coast is going through with their open licensing.
The OGL, yeah.
Yeah, it's like I think these companies are trying to wage war with their customers or with each other and trying to piss each other off. And it's like, you guys do realize the economy is not that great right now. This is not the time for you to be doing stupid things.
It's something I mentioned in Royce's Gilded chat earlier. It's nothing new. Like a decade and a half ago, White Wolf, which produced Vampire the Masquerade and all of that, did the same thing well before everybody else did it, and they collapsed like a flan in a cupboard shortly afterwards.
Yeah.
So you would think that these companies would see that and go, maybe we shouldn't, but no. They have no concept.
Well, look at that poor young woman this week that came out and she worked at a game company and just said, look, we're open to anybody playing our product, or we don't discriminate or whatever. And this Baroni woman went after her and said, "Oh my God, this person's a radical conservative and they're transphobic and they're this and that," and the company turned around and fired her.
Yep.
And I was like, I totally understood where she was coming from because I've been in that suit, and it was amazing to me. It's like, you're a real small company that barely produces product. Can you really afford to piss off half of your customer base? And you knew it was bad when they said, we're no longer letting people cancel their orders with us. That was the sign that, okay, you took a hit, and you know it. That company will not exist as a result of this.
It's true.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of was thinking that they might have done the the thing that's become popular, which is like leak a worse version of what they were planning on doing anyway, and then like retracting it publicly and say, oh, we were going to do that, and then a couple months later roll out basically the exact same thing anyway. But man, they really should not have done this, because it's not like, I mean, the thing is that people have not really enjoyed the latest D&D iterations for quite a while. I mean, there's people who play 5e, of course, but there's been a large contingent of people who stay behind on previous versions, and they were already getting more and more silly, and people were doing their own rule sets and whatnot. And it's one of these things where, they're playing with fire. There's a lot of people who are very well established doing like everything from the design of the campaigns to the printing to the everything. So all they have to do is change it enough and not be scared off by an angry letter from a lawyer. And I don't know what they're planning on doing, but I don't know. Hasbro's got to double profits or whatever in the next 2 years or something.
Well, they smelled the money and they thought this was going to be easy to do. And, I play 5e right now with the group that I've done, but I still got my white box edition on the shelf from version 1, 1972. If I want, I can go play any version I want. I have everything in between except 4, which I threw all of my 4 books away. I didn't even take my 4 books to the used bookstore because I didn't want anyone else to suffer with them.
Oh, God.
I was going to say it was kind of all downhill after 3.5.
Yeah.
It was getting there, but it hadn't hit the precipice until 3.5.
I actually enjoy 5 it's easier to play with younger kids, which I'm playing with my grandson soon. And
that's awesome
stuff. And 5 is a good set to get people into the game. I don't mind it. The leveling up is ridiculously easy, and I don't like that, but would I switch to Piazzo in an instant? Probably, but they're just as crazy woke over there as Wizards is in some respects.
And it's gonna take and it's why I'm so hopeful for obviously we call it the Iron Age, but it's been around since before the term was coined. But it's why I'm so hopeful for what's happening right now is because I'm seeing it. People aren't just tired of like the woke storytelling. Like that's definitely the most predominant in the media. But people just don't want politics in their stuff. People just want good, hearty stories that they can sink their teeth into, have some fun with, games that they can just go lose themselves with. And and then you get politics has always been a part of this story. They tried that crap with Star Wars. It's like, no, Star Wars had its own politics that it dealt with, and it was in the Star Wars universe, and and things like that. And people just want to lose themselves in a different place for a little while, whether it's a game, whether it's a book, whether it's movies. They just take me to this other place. And it has its own set of rules and its own set of politics that it deals with there. And I don't want to be reminded of the day-to-day. Just give me a little bit of an escape. And I think that because so many people out there finally said, you know what, I'm done waiting for them to do it, I'm going to do it, we're really going to start to see a change. And I think a lot of these companies that are definitely towing the woke rope right now are definitely they're going to get hit with that. They're going to get rivaled by the little guys, and that makes me excited.
I think, when gaming started back in the 70s, and I've been around with it since, I mean, I was playing Panzer Leader Tactics 2, I played all the war games and then got into the role playing when D&D first came out, and have been playing ever since. When it first started, a lot of the industry was garage businesses. I mean, that's where they started, was a couple guys in a garage with boxes of books, and they'd go to conventions and sell them, and they'd run the games. We had some really dumbass games too, like Bunnies and Burrows, and there were just some that made zero sense, but it didn't matter because they had niche little audiences, and it was guys out printing books that were typewritten pages that were bound. And you know what? Some of those games are still rocking it out in some respects, and they're good, solid games. And, the industry is now, there's so many of these companies that have become big monoliths, that they only produce these huge games. And we were even talking about the length of our book. How long should our rule book be? And I'm like, look, these companies are cranking out these 400-page rule books. That's ridiculous. People want to be able to just get in a game and play, and you can really focus on that and do it with 200 pages if you want.
Yep.
And when you start getting into 400 pages of rules, I think that's actually a barrier for entry for a lot of people.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
There was a wonderful little game system that took its cue from anime called Big Eye Small Mouth. And what was so interesting about it was a point-based character creation system that allowed you to do anything. You could play a psychic, you could play a spiritual warrior, you could play a mech pilot with a mech. It didn't matter. You could play whatever the heck you wanted to. And I think it's the original book when it first came out was 150 pages long. That was it. It was like about the size of a trade paperback.
Yeah.
And we bought it at our local gaming store when we were teenagers, and we're like, let's check this out. And within an hour, all of us were like, we get it. This is awesome. Let's play.
Yeah. I played, I had this game that I picked up called Kids with Bikes. And Kids with Bikes has like 2 game mechanics in it. That's it. It's a great thing if you enjoy like Stranger Things or Goonies. Guess what?
Oh, the Goonies.
This is your opportunity to have a Goonies adventure or a Stranger Things adventure or whatever. And it doesn't require you to own a boatload of crazy ass dice. You don't have to learn a complicated system. Like I said, there's 2 basic mechanics with the darn thing. It was a brilliant freaking idea. And I think these companies that are doing stuff like that are really hitting the nail on the head.
Yep.
Well, I think this is just kind of my aside on things, but I think that you saw a lot of, like you were saying, garage businesses, a lot of smaller scale stuff back pre-internet. And then the internet has been a huge centralizing force for a long time. And you started to see, with like crowdfunding and Kickstarters and other things, like people, like smaller creators start to have some resurgence in creating different things. But you also have these big companies trying to buy growth, and so they'll go out there and buy these smaller franchises, and you always have that factor in play, as well as I think just a lot of things have gotten more homogenous over the years. And so I think that, in the next 5 to 10 years, as we get more and more decentralized, I think largely out of necessity, just from supply chains and everything else, I think that we're going to see a lot of exciting new ideas start popping up.
I think so too.
Return to that. Yep. I'm optimistic about it.
I'm
Yeah.
counting on it. I want that. I want to embrace that stuff. You know, because that was the fun time in the industry is you could walk through a game call and go, what's new? And you come across these little companies that are cranking out games. But, you know, you look at Gen Con last year, they gave out one of the big game awards to a company that was, you know, it was a lesbian-based role-playing game.
Oh,
and
God, I heard about that.
and the first rule, I actually stumbled across the game before they won the award, and I looked at it, and the first rule said, if you don't support gay rights, you're not allowed to play this game or something. And I was like,
Yeah.
why is this a game? You know, like, I don't get me wrong.
I kind of want to make a game
Gentlemen,
now like that.
Gentlemen,
I want to do
need
one
to I need to interrupt, gentlemen, and I do apologize. But Kikomon, for $100, says, "Oi, Royce, my Junker chat, please share the custom Iron Age Kikomon artwork from Neutron Bore and the Quaff." So, I have been told that when somebody sends in a super chat that large, you tend to interrupt the show for them, and this is actually. The Neutron Bore is actually the artist that Kikomon commissioned to do my new custom artwork. So, and he got his own custom artwork done here. So, this is, yeah, Kikomon. Yeah, it's hilarious how he kind of just turned into this character online. It's fantastic. But yes, this is the Kikomon art. God, it looks so freaking good though. It really does.
This is, you know, he is, you know, tormenting a subsea creature here. So this, you know, could we see a Kikomon inspired, you know?
I don't know about that.
No.
You know, they did tweak the one line. I had to write what we call back matter, the back cover of the book.
Mm-hmm.
For book 2.
Oh, yeah.
And you know, they always have that headline at the top, you know, that kind of drives you in. And mine was, well, boys, looks like seafood's on the menu again. And the editor changed that completely. Like, our marketing people looked at that and said no.
That's ridiculous.
And I was like, I totally get it, but it was fun to do. Occasionally I just do stuff to have a good time, you know?
People are saying Kiko Mech down in the chat.
Kiko Mech, I like it.
Kiko Mech.
We need to find a 3D modeler, and we'll have a Kiko Mech. It'll be part of the Battle Nuts lineup.
Well, and you could also provide him brass balls.
There you go.
It's you should not have given us the ideas. Don't.
I was gonna say we've already got our own land and sea militia lined up.
Yeah,
here.
Richard,
Yes?
you're gonna have to do soy sauce bottle shaped rockets with Kikomon's face on the side.
Oh no, they're soy sauce Molotov cocktails.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, that would totally work. Yeah, that's way better.
Say, we're gonna.
I am okay. So I am supposed to share these ones, or I'm supposed to share this one. Okay, so I will download this.
More sharing. Well,
it's $100.
That's what I'm saying. More sharing.
Oh man. Well, we did make it to the hour and a half mark at least. That's good. So
yeah, I'm on my second drink. It's all downhill.
Yeah, from here. It's all downhill from here. I'm so sorry, Blaine. I don't know. You've been such a fantastic guest tonight, and now you're gonna learn.
The last hour
mistake you've made.
Okay,
the last hour gets wild.
You know what I say to that? Game the fuck on.
Game the
There
fuck
we
on.
go.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
This looks freaking great.
Uh-huh.
Neutron Bore is an amazing artist.
Well, this is from Quaff, isn't it from?
Yeah,
Quaff?
yeah. Neutron Bore and Quaff. Yeah. This was Quaff. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
I'm loving it. Let's see the Kiko cannon here. I'm already having ideas. We're
That's what I'm saying, man. A rocket.
You're gonna have some fan fiction.
The
We're gonna have
Quaff,
to
yes,
commission
that is the
Daniel
Quaff.
to write us a short story in the style
Oh
of
my
the
God.
The Kiko militia here.
Yeah, that's absolutely
I'm in.
absolutely insane.
The tales of a never mind.
Oh no. Oh, sir.
I'm just gonna stop right there. Never mind.
Yeah. No. And I will do this, and this one I can do, and this one doesn't require a super chat because it's mine. But Kikomon, actually, just so you understand, Kikomon wanted to support people who are shouting out other smaller creators and who are working with other smaller creators. Now, Neutron Boar is actually the and I don't have the book down here right now. He is the artist that does all the artwork for another writer known as Black Knight. Black Knight writes the Star Shatter universe. It's a science fiction novel. Pretty good so far from what I'm getting through.
Yep.
But Kikomon really liked his artwork, wanted to commission something from him, and wanted to support me as well. And so Kikomon just revealed this last week and made this specifically for the channel. And so and so I am just utterly grateful to the people who support this channel, and I have to shout them out as much as I possibly can. Neutron Boar is just a fantastically talented artist. I mean,
Very cool.
Yeah, this is my dad's leather jacket. They got my wife in on it, and they said, hey, we want to make this Royce's. And so they actually got my dad's hanging upstairs on the chair right now. They got my dad's leather jacket. They even grayed out here because it's an old jacket, and the cuffs are all gray. And they even grayed out the cuffs of it too. I mean, just impeccable artwork.
Cool.
By these guys. And so
Yeah, man.
although my chat gets a little bonkers, I will say this without a doubt. I think that I am surrounded by some of the most talented people on the planet and some of the most gracious people on the planet as well. Like it's just utter my chat, bar none, is the best.
Yeah, we're a good crowd.
Yeah. So, and I just wanted to share that with you because anytime I can shout out these artists and creators and get them, it's no, of course you're not gracious, Mike. Of course you're not. But Mike's not gracious. We call him Mark. So yeah, I did have to show that. Sorry to derail the conversation, but when a super chat like that comes in, it's gotta
you gotta show the art.
So
Absolutely.
Maji Chan has 2 questions here for you. These are not super chats. These are just questions that I saw in the chat. I have the luxury right now that my chat is small and tight knit. So it doesn't necessarily take a super chat for me to read their questions to you. And I like that right now. If this grows to a point where I can't grab questions anymore, well, we'll get to that bridge. But right now I can get to people. So Maji Chan says, where do you find inspiration for your stories?
Wonderful question.
And then the second one she also asked is, what was the biggest risk you took as an author? So inspiration first and risk second.
Well, the inspiration, I get ideas from.
Go on. I'm sorry. I'm yelling at my friend in the chat.
Yeah, my inspiration comes from everyday things, and if you get down to it, the characters are undergoing some remarkable things in the story, but a lot of what they're going through in this first book are a lot of everyday things, but you learn a lot about the characters as they go through everyday things. You got a drug dealer who, he's so moral he won't sell drugs to kids, and he lives in an abandoned church, and he's suffering with PTSD, and you get a lot of cool development of him just going through his everyday life. You learn a lot about that character, and you end up kind of going, okay, I can sympathize with that character, and it makes sense. So the inspiration comes from a lot of everyday stuff. I mean, I don't watch a lot of TV. I read a lot of books, but I don't get ideas from the books. The ideas just kind of come from what taking ordinary people and putting them in extraordinary situations. If you look at that throughout history, you end up with great stories. The movie Zulu is a great example of that. You've got ordinary guys, 100 guys, 147 guys holding off, 7,000 Zulu warriors. you're going to get some damn awesome stories out of something like that, So history is full of that stuff, and I think history and looking at how people interact and etc. gives you some great ideas for stories.
Quick interjection before you
Yeah.
get to the second question. I'm going to interject my own, which is what seafood were you eating when you had the inspiration?
I hate
for-
seafood.
No,
Okay,
whoa,
so-
whoa,
There's the
okay, no,
inspiration.
can't do this
Okay,
interview
this
over.
makes sense. This
Just tell
totally
you, I
makes
don't
sense.
eat seafood, man.
Royce is like, shut it down.
I mean,
shut it
I-
down.
I'm-
So
I
what,
mean,
what was the other
can't.
question? What was the second one?
The
Biggest
second one
risk.
is, what was the biggest risk you took as an author?
Mhm.
That would be that Blue
Mhm.
Dawn. I decided to, I really wanted to write a book that was a conservative political thriller, which is it was risky. My wife and I had this discussion. She's like, you do this and there's going to be publishers that don't want to talk to you and it's going to create some tension. And I said, yeah, but it's a piece of fiction. And she's like, we live in a society where people don't understand that anymore.
Mhm.
Yep.
And
Oh God, that's true.
it was a story that I've been working on for years and I was able to refine it. It's one of my favorite books I wrote, and I knew that it would piss people off. So having pissed people off, I think it was probably a contributing factor, albeit a small one to, it certainly ticked off the woke person coming after me to threaten my life. Okay, that happened. As a result of doing that book, but at the same time, I felt like as a writer, I needed to do something beyond Battletech writing fiction. I don't want to say it's stale because I enjoyed writing Battletech, but there's always so many stories you can write about. We're going to land a regiment on planet X. They're going to fight these guys. There's going to be a desperate battle, and they're going to overcome those odds and be victorious. I'm sorry that we've done that trope so many times, and yeah, we vary it and color it and stuff. It's just not there. I wanted to tell just a better story, and I think Blue Dawn was the biggest risk I ever took, and I don't regret a damn thing.
Good.
Good to hear.
As you should.
Toxic Crusader says, actual question. This is a rare moment for Toxic
Yeah.
Crusader. Because
TC generally is just talking shit.
Bad Toxic too. Like, should worry about reading anything he says to me on my streams because YouTube might yank the channel. He said some shit on
Unrepentant. Mhm.
Oh yeah, no, Toxic's great. Toxic's just like, oh hey, here's this thing you shouldn't say online. I'm gonna say it, but worse.
Just to see if you'll read it.
Oh my God, Toxic is toxic. It's great. I love him. So, Toxic Crusaders is actual question. Will there be room for larger mechs operated by multiple people? I'm thinking Pacific Rim crossed with tank crew, like in the movie Fury.
That's a cool idea.
The answer is that already exists in the universe. The Russians actually have a driver and a gunner in their Asher rings. Their Asher rings are bigger and bulkier and clumsier and
love it.
Things along those lines. So the Russians, that tends to be not the United States doctrine. The United States doctrine is one pilot per rig, and that's it. Will we see that change over time? I would assume that will happen. But you're going to see it more in the Ashers that you see in other countries, which you will get to see. The first book, you'll actually get to see a mammoth rig. And you'll see some of the others as well. Especially in book 2 and book 3, you get glimpses of what the Royal Marines are doing, in the UK with their rigs, because they only issue rigs to the Royal Marines, whereas we issue them to the Army and to the Marine Corps in the United States. And you'll get to see the Japanese approach to Asher rigs, and
awesome.
which really is gonna have more of a, I don't want to say anime flavor to it in terms of their design.
I was thinking that,
because I was like, we're gonna have to go down that path a little bit, and I think people are gonna be screaming for the artwork for that. But it's one of the side story type things that you'll get in the cycle chapters. But yeah, you're gonna see some of that, and You also get to see the militaries of the world, how they respond. And the Russians respond in a typical Russian brutish force. So it's going to be some really interesting
Destroy.
stuff. You'll get to see like the Spanish army fighting, and they're using German rigs that they purchased from Germany. And you're going to get to see the Italians and the Indian army fighting. So it's gonna be fun.
Awesome! I'm really looking forward to this.
Yeah, man.
We're getting a lot of little tidbits here tonight. I'm down. You know, I haven't read it yet, but when the wife gets back from her friend's house this evening, hey babe, so there's this really cool thing that I wanted to get. Right, that's how I buy things in my house. I look at my wife, hey babe, so.
Honey,
I don't need this thing, but like it'd be really cool, right?
Hey, you got $100 super chat. You got to fire it off there,
right? Yeah, you're not wrong. All right, Kikomon for $5. He says, "Love you, Mark S. Millerstein." Check out Blaine's page below, and Kikomon is a mod of the channel. He was saying hello to Mark S. Miller. I don't know where the Millerstein thing came from.
he's drunk.
Yeah,
I was gonna say.
No, he's been saying it for a few weeks, but I don't know the origin. I don't know all of the lore of my own damn channel.
It's Kikobon. Don't ask. Just
It
go
is.
with it.
I shouldn't ask. I really shouldn't.
If he's gonna pop down $100, you're his bitch.
There you go.
Oh, no, don't say that to the chat. Damn it, no. Oh,
It's the truth.
And
Though.
this
It's
was the
Flip.
last time I was
Sad
invited
truth.
on
Click.
media. It's been a real joy.
and out, and Blaine just bounces. No, you're Kikomon's bitch. Bounce. The fuck, man.
Totally justified.
If you did that, I just like I don't know how to handle this right now.
I'm not even.
It's a
upset.
mic drop if I ever heard one.
Right, oh my god, it would be. Herman P. Hunter, the Lore Forge. This is I have a question for Blaine, and Herman he's a fantastic man, great troll, love him to death. I have a question for Blaine. Have you done any stories about mechanized ticks?
Yes. In a form. In this book, you will see a version of alien sand flea.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. I was like,
Yeah,
I know exactly where this is going to go.
Right on.
This is and
It's
I'm just gonna
memorable.
say, I'm not going to explain anything more than that, but yeah, you're going to get to see sand fleas, and you do not want these in your pants either.
I don't want normal
Fantastic.
ticks in my pants. You people
Yeah.
are no. And then JVP Music came back, and he is busting his hump right now with a fantastic metal audio comic.
Yep.
He is busting his hump, really trying to dial things down. So I know this comes from a place of honesty and inquisitiveness. So back with a question for Blaine. What advice would you give to a novice writer on how to connect with the audience?
It's a great question.
Wow.
That is fantastic.
You know, I actually am very open on social media, and I engage. And it doesn't, I don't distinguish like, oh, this is an important person versus not an important person. If somebody buys my book, I thank them. If they say, "Hey, I just bought your book," I try to respond to almost everybody in some way, shape, or form. And I think most of the franchises, authors don't do that at all. I know of a couple authors who will not engage at all with their fans.
I have been told, and obviously I'm not to your level of notoriety, but I have been told by some members of my gilded, because I'll pop in there to the voice chats and just say hello to everybody as much as I can. I mean, without my gilded, that's my, that's where my YouTube, subscribers go over and they hang out and they get to know each other. And I pop over there and voice chat and I talk with them. And they were telling me the other night a new member of the gilded was like, wait, the guy who runs the YouTube channel actually came over here to talk with us? And people were like, yeah. And apparently that's strange. I guess that doesn't happen.
Yep.
And that just baffles me that people wouldn't try to at least jump over there and just say hi.
Well, you know, and I'll put it this way: some of the people actually have some damn brilliant ideas. There was one guy who reached out to me while I was working on book 4, and I had put out some stuff in my blog about what we were doing with medical technology in the series. That we have these freezer packs and this and that. And he goes, "Well, you need an auto suture kit, and you need a defibrillator that you could attach to a human body that monitors your heart rate and shocks the body without you having to get paddles and do that. And you can miniaturize that in 20 years and slap it on somebody's chest so that they don't slip into shock." And I ended up turning around, putting it in the story
Yeah,
that I
that's a
was
great
working
idea.
on, because I was working on a story about a medic at the time, you know, who's going up to the front. And I was like, this is a brilliant thing. So it's actually going to be part of the game. It's going to be part of the book. And I put the guy in the acknowledgments. You know, sometimes the fans are smarter than you are, and you have to embrace it. I've had, for this Legionnaire series, I'm having to learn a lot about Ranger tactics, even though it's a science fiction series. It's based on the U.S. Army Rangers. I got a guy, you know, who's 4 hours from me, who's like, "Hey, I'm an ex-Ranger. I've got guns. Come out to my range and shoot." I've actually reached out to the Army Ranger School, and I'm trying to arrange a visit to go out to Ranger School to actually watch the Rangers train, so I can be better at my craft. But you know, the fans actually reach out and go, "Hey, I was over there and you know did my duty, so join me." You know, so you have to engage with the fans. Social media, you know, you are going to get the weirdos, you're going to get the crazies, you're going to get the assholes. Ignore all that stuff and focus on the people who just want to know what you're doing, etc. And I do a blog every week. I actually have 2 blogs, one for the company and one for myself, and I get around 200,000 hits on my blog every year, just because I offer free fiction. I talk about, here's what I'm writing right now. People want to know that stuff, so you reach out and engage with them, and it's great. They want to know it, so give them a way to reach out to you, and you'll do just fine. But you could also pick up a crazy stalker who threatens your life, so just be prepared.
Yeah, I hope that
Part of the
doesn't
fun.
happen. Yeah. So JVP Music,
Story
hopefully you
based
are
in the
still
real
here.
Yeah, he'll watch it later if he's not.
No, yeah, hopefully. And then Kikomon for $2. Like the video for the love of soy. Thank you. So, yeah, 50 likes, guys. I think 50 likes is the highest amount of likes that we have ever had on an Iron Age night. So thank you all so much for that. Oh my God, that's awesome. All right. That clap track is way
Next
too
milestone 100.
I don't know what the hell our next milestone is, to be perfectly honest. Because
It's 100. I just said it.
Well, okay, 51. Yay. Oh, 53 likes now, and it's going up. Wow, I celebrated too soon. Wow. Thank you all so much. From Joseph Peck. Question: do your stories have guiding questions? If so, what's one of your main ones?
I don't do much with guiding questions. I try to stay away from outlines as much as possible.
That's
To
interesting.
me, it's all about character arc and where the characters need to go and what situations I need to provide those characters for them to fulfill the arc. I don't subscribe to doing guiding questions.
That is interesting.
Well, I think
I go into as far as outlining is concerned, I consider myself the bare minimum with that, in that I'll write like a maybe 4-sentence paragraph that of bullet points that I want to cover. This happens, this happens, this happens. And then I fill in the gaps from there when I'm actually in the writing itself. But that's as far as I go. I know people who are like, who min-max in the most, I hesitate to use the word, but I can't think of a better one, anal retentive way, where they're like chapter 1, bullet point, sub-bullet point sets of things and details. And I'm like, if that helps you write, cool. If that helps you get there. But for me, it's like, I'll spend maybe a week on an outline at most, and then I just fill in with what feels right for the characters and the development of the story from there. But it's interesting that you try to avoid outlining as much as possible. It's something I don't hear very often.
Yeah, I have character arcs that are sketched out, and then I tend to look at those and go, so what circumstances am I going to put in place so that character can achieve that? And sometimes it's a loss, sometimes it's a realization, sometimes a reflection on their, something that's already happened to them where it comes back. And with Blue Dawn, I always have these kind of, there's certain, for new characters, they get kind of a flash, each one of them gets a flashback of some sort to something that was their defining moment before they appeared in the story. And that's kind of a thing I've woven into the entire series, and it's a blast to do that, because it opens the door for fun shenanigans. But to me, I always look to the characters, because if you're not writing about good characters, the story is almost irrelevant. People want to identify with what they're reading, and everybody identifies with a different character in some way, shape, or form. So you have to do that. When they don't identify with the character, we were talking about this on John's show last night. You end up with characters like Rey from Star Wars, where nobody identifies with that character, because no one in the world has walked into a situation where they know nothing about something and become the instant expert in that thing. It'd be like walking into a karate studio if you've never done it before, and suddenly you're defeated the black belt.
Right.
It's like that makes zero sense, and no one can identify with that. And when you go down a path like that, they're never going to attach themselves to the character, and they're never going to embrace that character.
Right.
I identified with the sand fleas, actually. So.
No.
I'm not surprised Richard said that.
Read the book, okay?
Richard, when I very first met him, I was like, man, he's very respectful. He's like, he's like on the level. Like, how am I going to be able to keep up? And just slowly as the show goes on, I'm just like, wait a minute. What the hell is behind the curtain?
It's always the quiet ones, my man.
It's always the quiet. You would be, Richard, are you really, are you a holy terror at Cards Against Humanity?
Oh, yeah, actually, yes, I am.
Okay, yeah. Who would have thunk that one?
Not surprised.
Not surprised at all. This one here is not a question, but I thought I would bring it up anyway. Striker A says, hey, Blaine, I ordered up a hardcover yesterday. Good luck with the books and looking forward to reading it.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
So, yes, Kikomon sent in a smiley face for $2. And I may or may not regret this one. But Kikomon for another $5 says, did Blaine hear the Kikomon song? If not, would he like to? The origin story.
Sure. For $5, we got the damn song.
Yeah, we got time. Let's do it.
Oh,
okay.
God. Okay, yeah, I haven't done this one.
You got to find it.
Yeah, it's already pulled up. It's already up.
I am like an onion. I will make you cry, especially if I drink too much and say something mean to you.
Yeah, I was so surprised that was you drunk last week. It was interesting.
That was not me like fully drunk. That was me buzzed just enough to realize that I was buzzed. So only one shot of vodka and the Red Bull and vodka this time.
Yeah.
I have a question for you about your. You said you had a submission with a Bane anthology. Is that Chicks in Tank Tops?
No, it's a Weird War book.
That's it. Weird.
Where the hell was the Chicks in Tank Tops from? That was who was that? Was that you, Blaine?
No. Boy, I like the cover.
Bane.
I wonder why.
Is releasing that this month along with is it Weird World War or what is it again?
Yeah, I think it's Weird World War. This one is the China one.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's fun. They reached out to me. They were great. I had so many publishers reach out to me once I got canceled. It was phenomenal.
Bane has been very friendly. I've enjoyed all my interactions with them.
They're great.
Mm-hmm. Very good folks.
So now brace yourself.
Oh God!
Here he comes.
So I'm assuming you know Kikkoman soy sauce, correct? The brand.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Then I need not.
This is a
speak any
real commercial from '99, correct?
something like that. Yeah, this is a real commercial for Kikkoman soy sauce from back in the. This is the origin of my subscriber and mod down in the chat. This is the Kikkoman fight song. Hopefully, it should start playing here in a minute. You guys have audio.
Yes, it's coming through.
A little soft.
For better or worse.
Show me, show you, Kikkoman, show me, show you, Kikkoman.
Blaine, you look so confused.
The Kiko beam is canonically accurate.
Yes,
It's true.
It is. It is.
Kikkoman fires it very often.
Oh god.
Kikkoman, show me, show you, Alright.
Okay.
Okay. It's like, what the hell? Oh god. Yeah.
I can say
so-
this in all fairness. This makes me regret that the United States helped rebuild Japan after we dropped the bomb.
I'm sorry. What was that? There was a lot of audio on my end. What was that?
He regrets that that the U.S. helped Japan rebuild. Is essentially what
Well, you know. Oh god.
We do have
This is what they
now.
did with the money we spend over there. This is wrong.
This is wrong.
Poor
Oh,
Kikkoman.
God. He has gotten that. He's had it played on my channel, on John Della Rosa's channel. He got Shad, Shadiversity, Shad Brooks. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him. He got it played on his channel. Yeah, just everywhere. He'll just come in. He'll come in and he'll drop a hundo down and be like, "Hey, you should play my song." And people are like, "Well, it's $100. We can't not play
I
the
guess,
song."
I guess so.
It's the ultimate trolling experience, but
It
it's
really
from such
is.
a positive place.
He has an army of
Yeah.
bitches, is what he has.
Yeah, exactly.
As long as he's got $100, he can make anyone do
Hey,
anything.
$100, $100, right? Yeah.
All right. Hell, $1 is $1.
I
And
do
I know
that
a lot
for
of guys out.
$1.
I know a lot of people out there that do a lot of stuff for $1.
That's the old Robotech line. I do that for $1.
Oh God. Oh man.
Kiko
Oh.
ruining my fiction here. No,
It's going in the story if you have me write it, man. The theme song's gonna play during some great battle.
We're definitely gonna have that. There's like some kind of a man who suffered a head wound at one of the Asher pilots, and developed a great affection for soy sauce afterwards. And,
I can work with
but-
that.
yeah.
Okay, so no, I didn't know about. I had suspected this Jolly Roger. Jolly Roger asked Royce, "Do you know about the shout out on Friday Night Tights today?" No, I don't.
We were talking about that pre-stream.
We were. Well, I had suspected it, but I hadn't confirmed it. So, did they actually shout out the channel? I mean, I assume because the subscriber jump.
So.
Yeah, the subscriber jump was insane. That's cool. How did that get brought up? Where, like, Is there do you guys have a timestamp? Because I mean,
What do you mean how? We're awesome. That's how it got brought up.
Yeah, and Blaine's awesome. So
Well,
Yeah.
Blaine is also awesome. Okay, that makes sense. Shadiversity. Okay, so Shad shouted us out. Okay.
Thank you, Shad.
I was gonna say thanks as always to Shad. Good friend of the channel.
Maji Chan left a super chat. I missed
Oh.
it. What? I missed it? Wait.
Fail.
No. Oh, somebody super chatted it. Okay, so more information is coming in. Okay, so no. Someone super chatted it. Shad started talking about it. Okay, fantastic. Well, that's cool.
Nice.
That's really cool. I'm gonna have to
very,
check it out.
very nice.
Yeah. I was trying to get rid of a headache.
Do we need to
before
check the locals chat? Do you remember?
I
that there is a
have
locals
no. I've been popping in and out over there. And,
Do you remember?
It's been on all night. I had to pull. I only have 2 monitors, guys. But this was not here a minute ago, but now it is. Frequency Studios for 420. It says we have the channel lore here. And then Kikomon sends another $2. Good sir, you drink too much. He says, did you message Razor Fist yet? Weak. Yes, I did. I messaged Razor Fist. I sent him a DM through Twitter back in November, and I didn't hear anything back. I'm assuming the guy probably gets a lot of DMs, and mine probably just got pushed to the bottom somewhere.
It's January. It's time for
I
the
sent
next
him
one.
one. I sent him one not too long ago.
Yeah.
So-
Did he get back to you at all?
No, not yet.
Yeah.
But give him a week.
I'm assuming I
We'll
don't
get
know
him.
the best way to read, because here's the thing: is there are some people that like that don't use Twitter for primary communications, right? And like,
Yeah.
so
yeah,
I
but
just
here's the thing: the power of the crowd. If everybody mentions it and ats him,
right.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I mean, we
That's
could
probably the better
do
way to
that.
maybe do that. But I don't even know if he looks at his mentions though. So
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. Well, obviously, I mean, Blaine, I'm assuming that Razor reached out to you to have you on.
He and I have communicated before all this
Okay.
went down, because Razor Fist was a huge Battletech fan, and
mhm.
when
that's
the shit went down, yeah, he was absolutely stunned. Did a great rant on it, and then had me on for a discussion about it. Yeah, which was great because it was stupid. It was a stupid set of circumstances, and it's been interesting. Just in the last couple of weeks, in around Christmas time, my crazed stalker finally came out and said, okay, I lied about everything. I wasn't a lesbian trans woman who adopted children and stuff. I'm a guy living, in Pennsylvania or wherever. And, it's like, yeah, I told everybody that back in 20,
I live in Pennsylvania, so I'll get him.
I can't tell. I'm trying not to. I don't want to be responsible for doxing this person.
Okay.
Someone else will
kidding.
do that.
It
'cause
was
all they
Daniel,
do is
wasn't it? It
request
was Daniel. Daniel, can you not dox? Can you not go after Blaine, please? Put your fan obsession away.
This is like a very
Fine.
elaborate
Conspiracy.
on Daniel's part now.
I set all this up like a year ago.
It's Iron Age Nights. It was in the plan. Yeah. God.
Yeah. Or do you at least live in a state with castle doctrine?
Pardon?
I said, do you at least live in a state with castle doctrine? Hopefully.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I live in
Oh,
Virginia.
there you go.
I live in
Oh
Virginia.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Worst case scenario.
Yeah.
I don't think
I-
there's castle doctrine as much as we shoot anybody on site.
Yeah, exactly.
Iowa is a very similar. We went and we read the laws about all that, and Iowa is basically like, yeah, just use as much force as you deem is necessary. And I'm just like, oh, and that's like
Yeah.
in the law, and we're just like, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, yeah, all right. You
I do a lot of deeming.
I
Yeah,
do a
exactly.
lot of right. Just goodness Lord. Oh, well, gentlemen, I think I've caught up with most of the questions and the super chats, as long as Kikomon doesn't start sending super chats again, which if I say that, he will. We've caught up over here, over on the locals chat from Frequency Studios. And Blaine, do you have anything else that you would like to add to this conversation? Where can people go find your book, and where can they go and support you?
Yeah.
I do a blog. It's on WordPress. You can look me up. Follow me on Facebook and Twitter. If you like my stuff, follow me. My life's pretty much an open book. I don't hide a lot of stuff about myself. And if you enjoyed this and you enjoyed my stuff, track me. I always am talking about what I'm working on. Obviously, if you want to buy my books, go on Amazon. I don't like bookstores that much because they pretty much support Simon and Schuster and the big, Hatchet Press and all.
And there's the Amazon link for everybody.
To me, I like the smaller, go on Amazon and stuff. I do a little channel on the USA Gen Network where I interview authors whose books I've just read. So when I read a book, I invite authors on, and we do a half hour to an hour conversation about, their books, and they get a chance to kind of pimp their wares, and I get to tell them what I think of their book, and, it's fun. So I'm the kind of
fantastic.
I'm reading a bunch of great indie authors right now. And that's, I'm actually enjoying those more than I do some of the mainstream guys right now. And so, to me, it's important to support that. And that's, you got to do that. And that means you have to put some skin in the game, which means you got to read the books. You have to write a review of the book. You have to do that stuff. And I like doing it. What do you got?
All of these guys here, indie authors.
All right.
I am working
my
on
own
getting through, and I
shelves as
don't
well.
actually have Black Knight's book, who I am, because it's up by my bedside. I've been reading it. But all of these authors here, and actually these two books on the ends go together. But yeah, all of these, every one of them, I have to get through. I'm so far behind. I got very lazy with my reading the last few
Most of mine are on the Kindle. So, but I occasionally, I've had authors lately be sending me stuff, and I'm like, don't do that. I want to buy your book.
I also say that same thing, and they tell me that I'm too humble and that they appreciate
No.
Yeah.
Look, we're all mercenaries at some point, and you put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into your book. If I'm going to read it, I'll buy a copy of it. And it's been good because I think a lot of these indie authors have the guys that reach out to me, if they reach out to me and it's even remotely something I'm interested in, I'll do it. But I'm reading stuff right now that's not even in genres that I've ever read. I'm reading a mystery book right now. I haven't read a mystery book probably in 20 years.
Cool.
And it's good, because I write true crime, so I'm coming at it from the perspective of how accurate, is it? And it's actually a lot of fun.
Swift Sword Rush says, Blaine, not that you have time, but the Iron Age Media website has indie authors submitting short stories to read. A lot of guys over there are putting in a lot of hard work every month.
Okay.
I mean, Richard up here cracks the whip, and he's like, "Hey, authors, get to work!" And they turn out every month.
Can confirm.
Yeah, I let him take a break over the holidays, so we only have 12 short stories from December. But
are you publishing them as an anthology?
No, right now it's just free. I'm just trying to push people to their Substacks. So the way that I do is I get basically an AI generated image that I find interesting or I think would make a good short story prompt, right? And I put that out there along with a title, and I say, hey, if you like this, you want to write a short story about it. Now I've extended it to like short fiction, like flash fiction and poetry as well. And we also have text prompts for art, and then previously featured short stories for audiobook. Like if somebody wants to do a reading or put some music to it. But short stories, back on that. So I put out these image prompts, and then people just send in short stories. And what I do is I link back to wherever they've hosted the story. So if it's on a Substack, it sends them to their Substack, and they can get email signups and things like that. Because I'm like, with Iron Age Media, I don't know. Maybe I should try and monetize it better. But my whole thing is I'm like trying to build networks that are more resilient than just one centralized place. You know what I mean? And that's one of the big problems that I I see is that everybody goes to Twitter or everybody goes to Facebook. And I know that I'm sending a lot of people to Substack, for example, but Substack has been a lot less prone towards censorship. And they're building like they build the email list and you can download it at any time. So it's easy for you to take it off of their website immediately. You can't do anything like that with other social media. So anyway, that all that's just to say it's a it's a list of short stories. You want to read some good short stories. There's been a lot of great stuff. And then at the end of the month, we do a vote, which is what's going on now. And the popular votes, and usually I pick one as like an editor's pick or something like that. And those are featured stories. So every Friday, there's a featured short story up.
Very cool.
Yeah,
I think
man.
it's great. Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm telling you, there's so many great ideas out there, and people are floating book ideas, and the publishers are now starting to pay attention to it. I was on John's show yesterday, and my editor was on there, and he asked me for John's contact information. So I don't know where that's going to go, but it's a lot of the publishers are now starting to pay attention to stuff like that, and because they're going, look, there's a lot of good people that have the skills to be able to do it, and they're going to need an editor and they're going to need some guidance to be able to do something on a broader scale, but it's definitely doable. So
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I always think that part of my routine that I keep harping on is iteration and learn by doing. And I think that a lot of people, it's like you don't. I mean, you make it, you send it in, I put it on the link. You know what I mean? Like you'll get seen, you'll get some views out of this, and if it's great, you'll get a lot of views. And if it's not great, then hopefully you'll get some feedback and you can improve. And even if it's not great, you wrote it, you finished it, you can write another one. And that one will be better. So I think that's part of my mantra is just keep on doing, and don't wait for somebody to tell you to do it. Don't wait for somebody to show you how and to hold your hand, because the way the world works is that the only people who are going to show you how to do something is if they're making money off of you doing it. You know what I mean? So
well, I talked to somebody that went, he had gone through 3 of these Hollywood writers workshops, where he shelled out all this money, and he was working on this one manuscript. He still hasn't gotten it published, and it's been like 8 years now. And it's like,
that is rough.
The thing is, those workshops are great because they make the people running them money.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they're designed to do. And they're playing off the fact that you're desperate to get your story out there, and they're going to take advantage of that as much as possible. So, I think it's good. Writing's a discipline, and you have to exercise that as a muscle. It's your brain is what you're using. You need to be doing it every day, and you need to be cranking it out there, and you need to use sites like yours. Put it out there. Let's see what people say. You're going to be surprised, and opportunities will just happen if you stick with it and demonstrate that you have that discipline.
Yeah, I mean, I've read every one of my editorial picks, and I mean every one of the popular picks as well. I've enjoyed as much as a lot of other short fiction anthologies that I've read. And so I think that one of the nice things about short stories and shorter fiction is that there's fewer moving parts. There's several people who have done, including Daniel. Daniel submitted a ton of great short stories in the Prompt series that all connected together with the same characters across multiple situations. And it was really fun because it was also interesting to see how he worked the prompts together and everything else. Because especially at first, like my prompts were all over the place. And then kind of in October, I took on more of a horror theme. And November, I kind of took a little bit more of a cozy, less, obviously clearly not horror theme. And then in December it was a little bit more, wintry, freezing, ice everywhere kind of stuff. So it's been really neat to see it.
It was
That's
a lot
cool.
of fun. Yeah, because I saw it as a creative challenge. You have these pictures, you have no context, it's just a picture. Create something wonderful out of an image. It was probably one of the greatest intellectual um, thought puzzles that came up recently, and that's what I found so interesting about Iron Age Media in the first place, was these story prompt ideas. So I writing the Chroniclers series of shorts was kind of a hat tip towards the old pulps, and a way to help the Iron Age Media website build up by putting these things out constantly. It got to a point where I was like, I'm losing time on my actual project, so I have to step back. And but at the same time, it was really fun to do, and a lot of people really responded to it, which I thought was amazing. And
yeah, I was amazed by the response.
Yeah, his whole website, the whole idea is around collaboration with everything that he's even doing now. It's not just story prompts. The artists get to submit art that are then stories are written about. People who want to get into voice acting get a free opportunity to create a portfolio by recording themselves reading these stories. And those portfolios are what you send out for actual, voice acting jobs.
Oh yeah.
So it's this wonderful network of building blocks, and that's what I love
and also
about the whole Iron Age
articles
movement.
promoting works and whatnot. I'd actually like to, if you've got like a press piece or something on the Splashdown series, I want to try and get that out there in time for what's
That
the
would be
second?
cool.
What's the title of the second book?
Riptides.
Riptides,
is
that's right.
coming next.
Okay.
It's a great
But
name.
yeah, in time for February 16th. Is that another Thursday?
I don't know. I haven't looked on the calendar. It seems like it's a
Yeah.
long ways away.
Oh, but it's not.
It is another Thursday.
Yep.
So yeah, well, I want to get, because usually I have articles on Tuesdays and Thursdays at least. So I'll get together with you and we'll get like a little quick blurb about Splashdown and Riptide. Because I mean, hey, I want to, like, Iron Age Media is about like indie authors, but it's also like my big thing is like new IP, and it can be small press, and I'm not gonna like, I don't know what is indie. And I've told people that I'm always like, people are probably going to get very irritated with me generally for allowing people in that they don't want in, and I'm not really, like, and unless you're dealing with
sentiment, I'm for
Winnie
the
Pooh,
sentiment
Winnie the
of
Pooh or
movement,
something.
I mean,
Yeah.
The Iron Age was coined around that term was coined around, Eric July doing what he did with Isom, who's a massive creator. So that right there is, I don't necessarily think that, indie.
Well, everybody wants to twist the term around so it applies to them and not somebody else. You know what I mean? And that's
Well,
that's what we're about.
To those people, I say, get the fuck out.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's what we're about.
Yeah, no. If
you want to exclude yourself, that's fine.
Yeah, go for it. But you're not excluding other people because they deserve to be here and earn things on their own merit the way that you want to earn things.
Well, I can tell you too, with what we're doing, I'm not the only guy that's going to be writing Land and Sea books.
Mm-hmm.
I've already had a couple authors reach out to me that I know who are like, "Hey, I want to write your universe," and I'm like, "Okay." There's no answer to that if you can do it.
That's awesome.
And so the opportunities are out there, and I cut my teeth in a gaming universe, and was able to build a career off of that. Other people can do the same thing. And so there's going to be opportunities out there for people that go, "Hey, I read the series and I really liked it and I got an idea for a story." Well, come on, pitch the damn thing. Let's go. Let's see what you can do. yeah, we have creative control to kind of guide you on that. But if it's a good story and it fits in the universe, then the publishers are agreeable to it. Then let's get that going.
Love that.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is that the Daniel writing a short story about the Kikomon Battle Nuts Brigade is a go?
Voiceover.
No.
You know,
I
I-
will voiceover
I
the
think that's
shit
going
out
to
of
be a
that.
stretch.
Oh,
I'm
Hard
still
sell.
mentally
Let me.
processing parts
I
of it.
will do just. How about this? How about this? How about this? How about this, Blaine? How about this? Would you accept it as a fan parody?
There you go.
Fan parodies are fine. I have zero problem with that.
All right. All right. We are going to do Landon Nuts.
Yeah.
Landon Nuts. There we go.
Iron Age Knights presents.
Oh, I'd do
There
it in
we
a
go.
heartbeat, man. I'd do it in a heartbeat. Oh,
I'm in.
Oh, God, no.
Give me
Okay. All right.
Give me a premise in a couple of weeks. I'll crank it.
Oh. This is going to be epic.
We'll
And-
workshop it. We'll have to get with Kikomon whenever
Oh,
he's
yeah, man.
back
It's
out
gonna
of
be
when he's back
great.
awake from his drunken stupor.
See. And speaking of Kikomon, before I get to Mr. Daniel P. Riley to sign off and shill about his stuff, you better shill, sir. You have to.
Fine.
You've got to do it. For $2, as much soy as is necessary to disable the threat. Back to, yep. And
Word.
then he just says, good night. Have a soyful night. All hail the Iron Age. Thank you so much, Kikomon. I absolutely agree. Oh, God, that's...
Landon
no.
D's nuts on your face. Okay.
Oh, that's great. Trippy. Where is it? Yep. Landon
go.
nuts on your face. You shouldn't have done
Oh
it,
boy,
Blaine.
I'm going to regret doing these late.
Yeah, we're gonna have
Yeah.
a little fan. We're gonna have a little
We-
fan militia here.
Told you.
We tried to warn you.
We did.
Yeah, but you warned me after I was already in.
Yeah.
You-
A little bit of a trap.
That's
Sorry.
like warning somebody like,
I.
oh, by the
you-
way, you're going to be prosecuted for that.
Hey, did we also, if I'm not mistaken, around about the 52-minute mark, we also said, it's about an hour and a half where we go off the rails. It's about an hour and a half. There were plenty of warnings.
I was
know.
gonna say the truck nuts came in about an hour and 20 minutes in. So yeah.
Yeah,
I
we
brought
hit
this
the,
on myself, so
It's
I'll
true.
own
You
it.
did.
Okay.
That's true. Mr. Daniel P. Riley, good sir, what are you working on lately? And where can we
The
find
usual.
it? You better tell me where I can find it too.
fine. I'm drunk right now, by the way.
How about this? Ladies and gentlemen,
Whimsyland.org.
please go and support Mr. Daniel P.
Right,
Riley
yeah.
over at whimsyland.org. That is right, whimsyland.org, which is now down in the chat. He's been working on his fantastic novel, this second part of Jisadai, and I hope that all of you can go over there and check it out.
Just speak for me. Thanks.
Wow, I didn't even see you move your lips.
This happens a lot.
That's my way of giving him shit.
Yeah. He always gives me a hard time because I don't chill. I'm like so laid back about it. I'm like, I have books, go read them. But
I'm doing
Sure,
a thing,
okay.
it's fine.
so
He also has some
Jisadai
new-
is a Kurosawa-inspired novella series of a far future dystopian Tokyo, and it centers around a young man who is trained to be an assassin in a sort of low war by the mega corporations that now control Tokyo, one of them in particular. He, after succeeding in one of his missions to eliminate some executives in a rival company, runs into a young girl who is escaping, for lack of a more politically correct term, sex work, forced sex work. And through circumstance chooses to free her from that. The corporation doesn't appreciate that and chooses to mark her for death. And Gabriel decides to defend her. So he goes against his company and the group of assassins. Yeah, you and me both, Kikoman. The group of assassins are charged with taking them both out. So it's a samurai story in a futuristic cybertech style world. And I'm working on the second book, which takes a little bit more of a background beat at this point, because the first book was very action oriented. Because you get, when you think of Kurosawa, you think moral debate in the Clash of Swords. The battles were discussions whose conviction to their ideals was stronger. So that's what I encapsulated in the first one. In the second one, there's a little bit more background. I finished the first chapter, which is about a new character who's a cop in this dystopian city that is downtrodden by the corruption. It's so prevalent that he can't do his job effectively. And while he's a very moral person, he's in a world that is immoral and can't function to the best of his abilities. Through circumstance, he will eventually meet the characters from the first book, and I have 5 story arcs. So this series probably going to go 15 books at minimum. Each one eventually culminating in the potential for, taking down the taking down the establishment that has been put in place around Tokyo. We'll see how the story plays out, but I'm really excited about doing G Sedai 2. I'm hoping for a March release once I get this all worked out. I crank these books out pretty quickly, so my plan is to finish it, take a month to run it through my editor and do some tweaks, and then publish it as quickly as possible, hopefully in March, April at the latest. And then I'll start working on Legacy of Heroes Rising Stars, which is the second book in my superhero series, because superheroes have been done dirty in the media, and I want to address that. And that I addressed it in the first book, and I want to keep building on that from there. So yeah, you can find all my stuff on whimsyland.org. The Chronicler stuff is hosted on my old website, which is you can find it. Daniel Riley Writes, Mr. DP Riley, which is also my Twitter handle. Follow me. You can ask me questions. I have a literary service business where I help aspiring authors, find the resources, network, and support their ability to write, help them learn to write consistently. I've worked with 12 over the last year since I started, and I'm hoping to beat that number in 2023.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's been
like
a blast.
I said earlier, I am surrounded by the best talent on the planet, I swear. So, and I am honored to freaking be here.
Me too.
So, I turn a camera on and yell at the camera, and these guys are like, "Hey, this is a cool dude to hang out with." So I'm gonna take it and run.
Well, this show in particular has been such a blessing for me. I get to talk with content creators and authors that have been doing this for 6 months or 20, 30 years. We get to talk with Blaine. We get to talk with Mike Miller. It's amazing. And I'm really, really grateful to be here every Friday with you guys.
Very cool.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, I guess I have to do my own sign off now because I yell at everybody else to shill, but then, sometimes I forget to show myself. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to encourage all of you, one, to hit the like button because that is how you shill for me. And we also tell YouTube to share this with other people. The other thing that I would absolutely love if everybody does is not only make sure to check out that Gilded link, which is down in the chat below, but I would absolutely love it if all of you would join me at 11 a.m. on Sundays for Sunday Coffee. That is where it's time to read your comments. You guys decide to stop by the channel all week and leave your comments on the various live streams and the different videos that I do. And so I make sure that for the time you dedicate to me, I dedicate my time to you as well. We'll go through, we'll read all of your comments. You guys will hear my honest to goodness responses. And hopefully you guys enjoy that format. Oh, and never forget, on Sunday Coffee, you guys are more than allowed to give me just as much shit as you give me here tonight. So that seems to be people's most favorite thing to do. And ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, I believe that has been Iron Age Nights. Hopefully you all had an absolutely fantastic time.
Here it comes.
Are we going to do it right this week? Do we do it right?
We always do it
Just
right.
give me an outro, so that's okay. But
I did. No, you did. You talked.
We
to
spent
Blaine.
like 15 minutes talking about Iron Age.
I know,
Media.
I
We
thought you
good,
were
bro.
chilling.
That is true.
I did
That
let
is
you
true.
chill.
I just wanted to say vote. I wanted to say everybody go to the Iron Age Media, vote, and
Yes.
vote on the short stories. That's
Yes.
what I wanted to say. I know I said
Iron
it
Age
already.
Media.
I just want to say it again.
Slash
I
vote.
didn't skip you. You had a thing.
Well, okay.
like-
If that's what you think. If that's what you
I
think.
mean, you had a thing. I didn't skip you. I was like, no, yeah. I was like, yeah, Richard's getting into it. He's doing an early
Okay.
shill. I don't have to ask him about it this week. It's great.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
okay,
totally
okay.
supported your shill too.
That's
I
true.
know. What the hell? Why am I always the bad guy?
Yeah.
You're not always the bad guy. I think we equally give each other guff.
It's probably true. It's probably true.
Thank you, Herb, as always.
Thank you, Herman.
Thank you. Oh, it's great. Oh, God.
Good night, everyone.
This is
Good
the
night,
part that
everybody. Good
everybody
night.
stays for. It's not about
know.
that last half hour. It's
No.
just for this couple of minutes.
I know, it's great. I love it. That's good. Well, what did we do? I don't even remember how this started. I don't know.
It just sort of
It was like the
happened.
First time, I think.
Yep.
Was it the first one? Was it? I don't remember.
It just sort of happened.
It does. It does. Well, you know what? Sometimes screw ups turn into fortune.
Oh yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here on Iron Age Nights. We will see you all next week. Have a good
Good night,
one.
everybody.
And cheers, everybody.
Good night.
Bye.